see it. There it is. Is Twitchy. Is YouTube, Tubi. Twitchy. Is YouTube. Is Facebook Facey. Is YouTube. Is Facebook Facey. Facebook is Facey. Is Twitter Twittery. Or X. Sorry, X. Is X Twittery? What a dumb name. Is Twitter Twittery? Is Rumbly? Is Rumbla? Rumbla is Rumbly. Hey, the Texan! How's it going? The Texan, I could not get your stream to play. I was like, I could hear 5 seconds and then it would pause, and then 5 seconds and then it would pause. And I kept getting so far behind, and I kept trying. No streams were playing from over where I'm at. I could listen to other channels like YouTube. It was weird. But hello, Sneezer. I did catch a glimpse. You showed a picture of the dinner at Dunstan's. That was fantastic. Oh, let's start the intro.
Welcome to the 9dNation.
בראשית ברא אלוהים את השמיים ואת הארץ.
In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Thousands of years later, it was Wednesday at 11 p.m. Central. Get your passport ready and be prepared to declare to the customs agents any edible plants or miscellaneous worldviews. You're now crossing into the nation with no denomination.
Welcome. Couple of important bits from the chat. Co-host Black Yoda is here. Sneezer points out that Foxhole is foxin', although it's been janky lately. How janky? As hell. Janky. So I think I have tweaked the structure even more and even better. You be the judge. So if you notice an extreme, crunched down, super efficient way to get the entire chapter 28 processed and ready for chat or ready for discussion, hopefully that's what you see here. This is episode 61. We have read Genesis Genesis chapters 1 through 27. And we have learned to not breed with demons, do not drink blood, don't murder. Abraham had Isaac, who had Jacob. And if you're just joining us, that's where we left off. So I'm going to now read Genesis 28. Let me put it on screen. Here we go. Gen 28. So Isaac called Jacob and blessed him and charged him and said to him, "You shall not take a wife from the daughters of Canaan. Arise, go to Padan-aram, to the house of Bethuel, your mother's father. And from there take to yourself a wife from the daughters of Laban, your mother's brother. May God Almighty bless you and make you fruitful and multiply you, that you may become a company of peoples. May he also give you the blessing of Abraham, to you and to your descendants with you, that you may possess the land of your sojournings, which God gave to Abraham." Then Isaac sent Jacob away, and he went to Padan-aram to Laban, son of Bethuel, the Aramean, the brother of Rebekah and the mother of Jacob and Esau. Now Esau saw that Isaac had blessed Jacob and sent him away to Padan-aram to take to himself a wife from there. And that when he blessed him, he charged him, saying, You shall not take a wife from the daughters of Canaan. And that Jacob had obeyed his father and his mother and had gone to Padan Aram. So Esau saw that the daughters of Canaan displeased his father Isaac. And Esau went to Ishmael and married, besides the wives that he had, Mahalath, the daughter of Ishmael, Abraham's son, the sister of Nebaioth. Then Jacob departed from Beersheba and went toward Haran. He came to a certain place and spent the night there, because the sun had set. And he took one of the stones of the place and put it under his head and lay down in that place. He had a dream, and behold, a ladder was set on the earth with its top reaching to heaven. And behold, the angels of God were ascending and descending on it. And behold, the Lord stood above it and said, I am the Lord, the God of your father Abraham and the God of Isaac. The land on which you lie, I will give it to you and to your descendants. Your descendants will also be like the dust of the earth, and you will spread out to the west and to the east and to the north and to the south. And in you and in your descendants shall all the families of the earth be blessed. Behold, I am with you, and will keep you wherever you go, and will bring you back to this land, for I will not leave you until I have done what I have promised you. Then Jacob awoke from his sleep and said, Surely the Lord is in this place, and I did not know it. He was afraid and said, How awesome is this place! This is none other than the house of God, and this is the gate of heaven. So Jacob rose early in the morning and took the stone that he had put under his head and set it up as a pillar and poured oil on its top. He called the name of that place Bethel. However, previously the name of the city had been Luz. Then Jacob made a vow, saying, If God will be with me, and will keep me on this journey that I take, and will give me food to eat and garments to wear, and I return to my father's house in safety, and then the Lord will be my God. This stone which I have set up as a pillar will be God's house. And of all that you give me, I will surely give 1/10 to you. All right. Now, what I thought we would do, and let's see how this works. I'm going to go through. All right. For those that like the visuals, you can still just listen, but just in case you're into the visuals, I'm just going to go through the text. This is cut straight from that same website, but this is my own document. And I've just put in the definitions right there in context of any words that's first appearance is in this chapter. So if you've been with us up to chapter 27 or you see the recordings, every word that has a stem that we have not seen has been covered in those chapters. So I think this would be a pretty quick way to go through in context and not just like I was doing last week, which is just bulleting through them. So here in verse 3 where he says, you become a company, that's kahal, that's an assembly, a convocation, a congregation. Usually it's going to be an assembly. 123 examples from the Old Testament. And it comes from another word that spells just the same. It's to gather as an assembly. So with that many usages, I felt pretty comfortable. The next new word was head. Mera'ashoth. It's a place at the head or a head place. There's only 11 examples in the Old Testament, but it comes from Marashah, which is a principality. So kind of like the chief. Halam, that's to dream. We see that in verse 12 here. 29 examples in the Old Testament. It can mean to be healthy or strong. So I looked in Study Light, and it says to dream because the fatness of the body inclines to sleep in dreams, like when you're comfortable. At all events, the significations of fatness and dreaming are often found in other cognate languages expressed by the same letters. This is according to Study Light. I even saw them mentioning nocturnal emissions as a possible translation. But it's dream 30 times. Kalam is, or chalam. When you go just to modern Hebrew, google.com straight up translates that as dream. So, and then he's got a ladder or a kulam, or a sulam. There's only one example in the Old Testament, and they translate it as staircase usually. But it comes from another word, salal, which is to lift or raise up or cast up, chunk upwards. Study Light says that word is like a basket held up high, and there's 12 examples. So given all the action that's on it, I'm pretty comfortable that, it's not unreasonable to call it a ladder or a hiking device, a self-lifting propulsion device. That would be a ladder. Verse 14 has parats, to spread out. It really means to break through. So like you'll burst out, imagine like, I probably shouldn't say this. I was thinking of like, well, just imagine, exponential growth. There's 50 examples in the Old Testament, and in many of the applications, it'll be direct and indirect, literal and figurative. Study Light has it as a breach, like a riverbank, causing the water to flow and spread out. So it bursts on the scene. That's probably a good way to put it now that I think about it. Bursts on the scene. Verse 16, he's sleeping, Shena or Shena. It's nearly always sleep. There's 23 examples in the Old Testament. In Psalm 127, it's used that way. It comes from Yashen, which is to sleep, and there's 24 examples. So there's almost 50 examples of that root word using for sleep. Then we get down to verse 18. Matseba, that's a pillar or a stump. There's 32 examples in the Old Testament. It does come from the word natsab, which is to take one stand, 74 examples there. So you got nearly 100 examples. I noticed matseba reminds me of the word Ebenezer, and when you stand up a bunch of stones to make a proclamation, that is an Ebenezer. So I wonder if we're starting to see that linguistically. He poured, or yatzak, that's to pour, cast, flow. Usually pour, often cast. So pour out, 51 examples in the Old Testament. Cast metal, place firmly to stiffen, grow hard. And then he's got oil, shemen, that's fat or oil. Usually it's oil. There's 193 examples, so pretty good usage there. Shemen is grease, very similar word. There's a root word, shemen, I guess is that word, to grow fat, and there's 5 examples in the Old Testament there. He called the place the name Bethel, however, or ulam, which means but or indeed, or to stop and think. So they're double checking. He's like, it did used to be called Luz. 19 examples in the Old Testament. Ule, a similar word, means perhaps. 45 examples in the Old Testament. Jacob made, or nadar, that's to vow. It's pretty straightforward. 31 examples, and it means to promise or vow. And he vowed what? He nadarred a nader. He vowed a vow. Nadar nader, vow a vow. It's 60 examples in the Old Testament. And then let's go down to verse 22. Asar, that's to take the tenth of, or a tithe. 9 examples in the Old Testament. It comes from a word used in Genesis chapter 14 where we saw Abraham tithed ma'aser. So asar comes from ma'aser. And all these words, every time you look in both of those words, they all mean 10 in some fashion. So he's giving a tenth. So he's paying like a religious tribute of a tenth to Yahweh. Guys, I'm starting to think of calling Yahweh Yahweh instead of Ahia. I don't know. It just didn't. After a year and a half of saying Yahweh. Let me catch up with the chat. It has been a while. All right. Chat is super quiet. Let me check lurker count. Make sure I'm at least got... I do think I think the stream's good. Yeah, you don't have to 5x5 me. You can. I'm just checking. Yeah, it looks like it's still rolling. All right, cool. So only 11 minutes in, and we're done with all the vocabulary. Now, what I want to do is go over here. Kind of want to just breeze through a couple questions that can maybe be brought up in our panel discussion. So, chapter 28. Isaac told Jacob, do not marry into Canaan. Get up, go to Padan Aram, the house of great uncle Bethuel, for a wife from Uncle Laban's house, as in your cousins. May El Shaddai, that's the word, El Shaddai, bless you and make you fruitful and multiply and make you be an assembly of peoples. May he give you the blessing of Abraham to you and your descendants, so all inherit the land of your sojournings, which Elohim gave Abraham. There he uses Elohim. So this is now a 3rd generation blessing. Maybe 4th if Terah knew enough to move to Haran. I feel like the movement of Abraham was from Ur to Haran to Canaan. And Terah contributed. So I think he was in on it a little bit, but not as officially. Isaac sent Jacob off to Padan Aram to Syrian Bethuel's house, Laban, Jacob's uncle. Hey, uncle, got any brides for me? Esau was aware of all of this, including the part about the no Canaanite wives, and Esau knew that Jacob went shopping for a wife in Padan Aram. Esau knew that Isaac did not approve of Canaanite wife ladies, so Esau got one of Ishmael's daughters, Mahalath, that's Nabajoth's sister, to add to his already existing wife collection. It is very hard to figure out who her mother is. We know she's Ishmael's daughter. I tried to find out how Haranian she might be. I don't see any Haranian blood other than the half that Ishmael would have, so she's only a fourth Haranian. She's only a fourth the good bloodline that Jacob or that Isaac really likes. So she's going to somewhat annoy Jacob or Isaac. Jacob went from Beersheba to Haran. He came to a certain place to camp for the night. As the sun was down, he took one of the stones, put it at his head, and lay down to sleep there. Wouldn't you have nightmares if you had a rock pillow? I'm going to put this link in the chat, these two links, about whether people really use rocks as pillows. I spent 10 minutes going, huh? Stick with the names they give. I have suspicion the devil is a few characters inside. Well, right, but you can pronounce YHWH, the Tetragrammaton. It's open to vowelistic interpretation. So Ahia and Yahweh, I think, are both ways to pronounce YHWH. We can debate. I'm not just picking my favorite pet name for God. But yeah, I want to get it right. And Ahia seemed good. It came to my hearing from a friend. He had a good argument, but it's drifting back to Yahweh. Ooh, a giant could use a rock for a pillow. Nice catch, Sneezer. Jacob was probably pretty tall. Let me put these links up here. Those are the two links for using a rock for a pillow. I've got a MyPillow pillow. Gen 1 MyPillow. Ooh, we start talking about our MyPillows like we do our Glocks. You got your Gen 1, your Gen 2. Anyway, I was kind of cracking myself up there. So he dreamed he saw a ladder from earth to heaven and angels of Elohim going up and down on it. Yahweh was at the top and said, I'm Yahweh, Elohim of Abraham, your father, and Velohe of Isaac. I don't know why I wrote that. The land you're laying on I will give to you and your descendants. Your descendants will be like dust of the earth. You'll spread abroad to the west, east, north, south. Do you see news in there? It'd be pronounced wens, west, east, north, south. Be blessed, all the earth, families, be blessed by you and your offspring. Check it, I'm with you, and I will keep you in all, wherever you go, and bring you back to this land. I will not leave you until that is done what I said. Jacob woke from his sleep and said, for sure Yahweh is in this place, and I was unaware. He was afraid and said, what an awesome place this is. It's nothing other than the house of Elohim, and this is the gate of heaven. So I kind of disagreed with that translation I read. He didn't say that God's house is that little stone, which is kind of how it read. He's saying, I'm sitting here in the house of Elohim, or I got into the house of Elohim, and this is the gate of heaven. So how similar to, or how close to Eden or Babel? Notice that Babel sounds a little bit like, well, it doesn't really. But could this be the Bin location? The navel of the earth? It's a soft place, a stargate perhaps. Definitely an important place. Jacob got up early in the morning and took the stone pillow and set it up tall ways as a pillar and poured oil on it, kind of like Kilroy was here. He called it Bethel, formerly known as the city of Luz. So there's a city there? I didn't dig into that. I should have. Jacob vowed, saying, since God's with him, he didn't say if, he really meant since, and keeping him that way, including feeding him and clothing him. And there is a gospel order here. God moved first. Jacob didn't earn his way into this. God just named him the recipient, so that he returns peacefully to the house of his father, and he'll follow Yahweh Elohim. And this upright, oiled-up stone is Elohim's house, and I'll tithe as well. so now I'm going to update our story so far. Don't breed with demons or drink blood or murder. Abraham had Isaac, who had Jacob, who went to Haran to get a cousin wife. On the way, he was touched by a vision of heaven and bought into the family religion. Now, the moment you've all been waiting for. We're going to fly in a guest speaker to read the whole story in Hebrew. And during that reading, I'll create the Jitsi link and get that going. Right? What do you think? Is that an interesting order? I think it saved some time. Let's see what happens. All right. So I'm going to start this up. It's 4.5 minutes long. So we'll be done. We'll have our guests on by 23 minutes after the hour. It's a pretty short chapter, but still, I like the flow. Let's see what you think. We'll look for comments.
פרק כ"ח. ויקרא יצחק אל יעקב ויברך אותו, ויצווהו ויאמר לו, לא תיקח אישה מבנות כנען, קום לך פדנה ארם, בית בתואל אבי אמך, וקח לך משם אישה מבנות לבן אחי אמך, ואל שדי יברך אותך ויפרך וירבך, והיית לקהל עמים, ויתן לך את ברכת אברהם לך ולזרעך איתך, לרשתך את ארץ מגוריך אשר נתן אלוהים לאברהם. וישלח יצחק את יעקב וילך פדנה ארם אל לבן בן בתואל הארמי אחי רבקה אם יעקב ועשיו. וירא עשיו כי ברך יצחק את יעקב ושילח אותו פדנה ארם, לקחת לו משם אישה בברכו אותו, ויצב עליו לאמור, לא תיקח אישה מבנות כנען. וישמע יעקב אל אביו ואל אמו, וילך פדנה ארם, וירא עשיו כי רעות בנות כנען בעיני יצחק אביו. וילך עשיו אל ישמעאל, ויקח את מחלת בת ישמעאל בן אברהם, אחות נביות, על נשב לו לאישה. ויצא יעקב מבאר שבע, וילך חרנה. ויפגע במקום, וילן שם כיבה השמש. ויקח מאבני המקום, וישם מרעשותיו, וישכב במקום ההוא. ויחלום והנה סולם מוצב ארצה, וראשו מגיע השמיימה, והנה מלאכי אלוהים עולים ויורדים בו. והנה אדוני ניצב עליו, ויאמר, אני אדוני אלוהי אברהם אביך, ואלוהי יצחק, הארץ אשר אתה שוכב עליה, לך אתננה ולזרעך. והיה זרעך כעפר הארץ, ופרצת ימה וקדמה וצפונה ונגבה, ונברחו בך כל משפחות האדמה ובזרעך. והנה אנוכי עמך, ושמרתיך בכל אשר תלך, והשיבותיך אל האדמה הזאת, כי לא אעזובך עד אשר אם עשיתי את אשר דיברתי לך. ויקץ יעקב משנתו, ויאמר, אכן יש אדוני במקום הזה, ואנוכי לא ידעתי. ויירא ויאמר, מה נורא המקום הזה? אין זה כי אם בית אלוהים, וזה שער השמיים. וישכם יעקב בבוקר, ויקח את האבן אשר שם מרעשותיו, וישם אותה מצבה, ויצוק שמן על ראשה. ויקרא את שם המקום ההוא בית אל, ואולם לוז שם העיר לראשונה. וידר יעקב נדר לאמור, אם יהיה אלוהים עמדי, ושמרני בדרך הזה אשר אנוכי הולך, ונתן לי לחם לאכול ובגד ללבוש, ושבתי ושלום אל בית אבי, והיה אדוני לי לאלוהים. והאבן הזאת אשר שמתי מצבה יהיה בית אלוהים, וכל אשר תיתן לי אעשרנו לך.
And that was the end of the chapter in Hebrew. I think the chapter was so short and done so efficiently that a co-host is probably still taking a pee break, or who knows what. Did anybody see all the hijinks? Foxhole was choppy a couple hours ago, I found, like 3 hours ago. Real choppy for like an hour, hour and a half. I was kind of like fighting it, just trying to watch the Texan. Great show, the parts I caught, but I caught like 50% in chunks, you know. Anyway. Zoso's on his way across east and kind of turning left, going a bit north. And let me get my discussion questions going. You know, let me get those prepared. One moment. Let's see. That's a good question. I'm going to copy them over so when the co-hosts get here. Wow, I moved way too fast. I wonder if Duffy's around to tell me who Esau's new wife's mother is. That's what I got to figure out. I'm just saying, if anybody knows, it'd be Duffy. Somebody just jumped in. Black Yoda. Good evening.
What is up? Let me adjust my settings real quick.
Do not adjust your dials.
I was trying to text myself the link so I could close off Foxhole because lately when I podcast with people, my phone gets really hot.
Yeah.
And if that happens tonight, I'll switch to Bernie's phone.
Sweet. Well, what I'll do is I'll try to get the link. I'm getting used to this new crunch down format that I think gets through it quicker.
Oh, you did that pretty quick.
Part of it was that this is a short-ass chapter.
That too.
But, this new order seems to be a little more efficient. Next week will be an interesting test. The week after that will be a long chapter. There's like 60 new words in 2 weeks. It's unreal. When he starts doing all the striped sheeps and the striped goats and the spotted goats and the brown goats and the lambs, it's like... And the more I study this, I'm jumped the gun. It is really easy to slip into that it's all allegory for the controllers breeding us.
You know, I got an off-topic Bible question.
Yeah.
Adam and Eve has been on my mind all day today.
Cool.
And not so much them, but their sons. Because they got married, right?
Yep.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Everything from Adam and Eve on up leads to Jesus, right?
Sure, yeah.
Right?
Yes.
So, what I've been thinking about all day is I think there was more than one Adam and Eve. They're only talking about this Adam and Eve because it leads up to Jesus. I mean, because who did the sons marry?
They sister.
genetically, you need at least 30 men and women to not have genetic defects when it comes to breeding.
Well, maybe not back then.
So that's what's been on my mind today. I mean, to me, that's plausible. I can't see the chat. Chat, whoever's out there, I would like you to participate with that question.
I'll keep an eye on it and see who says
Especially
what.
the Texan. I would like to know his point of view on that one.
That would be interesting.
Texan, call in, bro. I would like to hear your point of view on that one.
Well, I go strict one man. Sin entered the world through one man. In about 15 years, when we get to the end of the New Testament, Paul straight up says through one man and sin entered the world, and then through one man it was defeated or something like that.
Hey, will you get my back scratcher, please?
Ooh, this is my back scratcher. Check it out.
Dude, I got one from not this one that she's about to bring me, but I got one that's telescopic.
Oh yeah,
I got it at 7-Eleven. Oh, dude, it's
it changes the game, doesn't it?
Man, and like I got a couple of bamboo ones, but this one that I got from 7-Eleven is metal, and it just gets those sweet spots, bro.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean?
This one,
yeah, I like that one.
Is metal. It looks like a monkey's paw, kinda.
A little bit.
Tell him about my color.
Oh, earlier you made the comment that you have some first generation My Pillows. A couple years ago, Bernie and I have 4 on my bed. She has 2 on hers. Love those damn things because you can toss them in the washing machine, put them in the dryer, and they come out like super fluffy again. You know?
They are so good.
She's got the.
Yeah.
No, go ahead.
I can't sleep without them. I just can't.
She's got the firm ones. Were mine soft or medium? Medium. Oh, dude, I love those pillows.
I like the firm and the larger size. Yep. Queen Peckerwood comes in and says, married their sisters. Duppy says, John Kerry will need to verify. Sneezer points out God could have made more women from some ribs. How much for a rib?
Wait. Adam and Eve had daughters?
They may have.
Nah, I think I like my hypothesis. Because they obviously they got married.
So the doctrine of original sin goes right out the window with your hypothesis.
No, because they could have still did original sin.
Did all 30 other people go eat the same tree? Because it was now forbidden for anyone else to go in there.
No, what I'm saying is they still, broke God's promise, or what's the word I'm looking for? Canon? Nah.
Rule.
Yeah, rule. Let's go with that one.
Okay.
That doesn't mean, if there was another group of people, that doesn't mean per se that, they broke the rule too. It only takes one to break the rule.
I will hand you some for that. That's true. That would be the concept of Adam being the federal head of humanity. So, yeah.
No, it was just, I don't know, it's just eating at me all day. And that's the only thing that really makes sense to me. So,
right on.
Anyway.
So, Sneezer, I already read his. Duppy says that the guy who read the chapter, he hocked up 12 big loogies.
Hey, where did you find that? Does he go through the whole Bible?
Yeah, it's just on YouTube. Here, I'll share the link. Let me find where I have it. I'll just share this week's link in the chat, and it gives it. You can go from there to all the other one.
Okay.
Rev. Here. Let's watch 2 seconds of this YouTube. I have no idea what it is, but I think Rev says it's related to what you were just talking about. So
okay.
Let me me share. Wait, what did I just do wrong? Hang on. Oh, here we go. I gotta share the correct one.
פרק כ"ח.
Sorry, not that.
ויקרא יצחק אל
Here we go. That.
The Adam and Eve Story by Chan Thomas. The next cataclysm. With a rumble so low as to be inaudible, growing, throbbing, then fuming into a thundering roar, the earthquake starts. Only it's not like any earthquake in recorded history. In California, the mountains shake like ferns in a breeze. The mighty Pacific rears back and piles up into a mountain of water more than 2 miles high, then starts its race eastward. With the force of 1,000 armies, the wind attacks, ripping, shredding everything in its supersonic bombardment. The unbelievable mountain of Pacific Sea, water follows the wind eastward, burying Los Angeles and San Francisco as if they were but grains of sand. Nothing but nothing stops the relentless, overwhelming onslaught of wind and ocean. Across the continent, the 1,000-mile-per-hour wind wreaks its unholy vengeance everywhere, mercilessly, unceasingly. Every living thing is ripped into shreds while being blown across the countryside, and the earthquake leaves no place untouched. In many places, the Earth's molten sublayer breaks through and spreads a sea of white-hot liquid fire to add to the Holocaust. Within 3 hours, the fantastic wall of water moves across the continent, burying the wind-ravaged land under 2 miles of seething water coast to coast. In a fraction of a day, all vestiges of civilization are gone.
It just froze.
I'm trying to figure out what this has to do with Adam and Eve.
Yeah, I don't see it yet. Rev. It broke. Hang on.
In a fraction of a day, all vestiges of civilization are gone.
I can't get the rest to load. Let me try.
Sometimes when I have a Foxhole open and I'm trying to do a playback on YouTube,
Yeah.
it does that.
Interesting.
But that's on my phone, though.
All right.
It doesn't
Fear
happen all
porn.
the time, but sometimes it happens, though.
Sneezer, I love it. He's like, yay, fear porn. I thought it might be about Revelation, but I wonder if that was the fall, maybe. I don't know.
But he was talking about California and San Diego.
I know. Maybe that's where, hey, you know, they put the Garden of Eden in Florida. Maybe it's moving to California.
Hey, you know what? I've been down some of those rabbit holes. But
good.
the eerie part is there's a lot of Egyptian artifacts in our country. Have you seen that stuff?
Yeah, in the Grand Canyon, there's some.
There's some around Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say Idaho, but I can't remember if that's right. Somewhere over in there, you know?
Right.
It's curious, you know? I've also been down rabbit holes where they talk about black people already being here before Columbus and all that shit.
Right. Well, we saw Duppy's mentioned the Phoenicians could have come over and they might have brought all kinds of peoples, you know, way back.
Right.
And that would support the, you know, there's buildings over here already that are just so, well, I went to Grand Central. So we, you know, it's $3 to get on the subway these days, $2.75.
Mm-hmm.
And for the price of that times 3 people, we hopped out and I'm like, we're right here. This was like, 2 weeks ago, week and a half ago. We took our first trip to New York in 4 or 5 years. And the kiddo was 7 or 8 last time we went. And he's gone like 3 or 4 times. So it was kind of new for him. And we hopped out. We're like, for $10, basically, we're going to hop out and take a look at this really ornate, amazing building.
Mm-hmm.
And there's others in New York. We were walking right by some, and we just stopped and looked at it. And like, it's kind of a soft stone, but there was this one that was hand carved, just every bit of the front surface of like 20 stories tall, half a block wide. It's a lot of work.
When was the Civil War?
Like mid-late 1800s, like 1850s, 1860, something like that.
All right, so on Facebook, I participate with 2 Tatarian groups, and they show a lot of like what you're saying, a lot of these ornate buildings. But the thing is, a lot of them were built around the 1850s, give or take, a decade or two, right?
Right.
So while people were busy, doing the Civil War, one, where did they have the manpower? 2, where did they have the material? And some of these buildings are elaborate, and a lot of your Capitol buildings for each state is utilizing some of those old buildings, right? And it just seems impossible that they built all that stuff around 1850. And my point is, those buildings were already there.
You bring up an interesting point. Around where I live, every single county, and they're pretty big. Counties are fairly big around here. But you can drive 35, 40 minutes, 45 minutes and get to another county. Every one of them has this big old courthouse just hanging out.
Right.
Huge stone structure.
Oh, dude, I got a picture on my phone somewhere. I'll have to look for it. All right, so it's one of those old world buildings with the columns.
Yeah.
Right. But at the same time, there's a lot of wooden structure attached to it. And it's a big wooden sign on the front of it, and it says post office. Dude, nice. If you were to see this picture, it is so haphazard.
Right.
Because you got the column structure of the original building, but then you got this haphazard wooden shack looking shit attached to it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's the lost, Tartarian where did all the adults go story in a nutshell.
Oh man, it's crazy. I should make a folder just for old world buildings like that. It is the goofiest thing to look at,
Queen Peckerwood.
There's something about our history that is lost and forgotten. I would trust some of these secret societies got some of that information. The Vatican for certain,
Right.
Let me refill my cup of coffee. I'll be right back.
Do it. I'll read some chat. Watch the water. Good point. It happened before. Rev, that makes me think of the remake of Battlestar Galactica. Duppy says that story makes no sense geologically. Rev says, I know. Sneezer, pre-Diluvian is for Jews. I was grafted on. I think of myself as kind of a Gentile. We were grafted onto the Jew tree, no? And pre-Diluvian... I mean, I'm not sure if I understand what that means. Stevis, the Mormons think Garden of Eden was in Missouri. Couldn't make that up if I tried. Christ changed everything. He fulfilled, right? He fulfilled and then gave himself as the greatest gift. Genesis 5, verse 3 and 4. Let me look that up. From Queen Peckerwood. Gen 5. Oh, let me go. Bible Hub. Gen 5. Verse 3. When Adam was 130 years old, he had a son in his own likeness. Ooh, right. Yep. And after he had, so Adam, right, Eve, had 2 daughters. Good call. After Seth was born, Adam lived 800 years, had other sons and daughters, most likely they married their sisters. Rev points out Lilith was sleeping with Neanderthals. Interesting. God obviously made genetic diversity somewhere along the way. Retartaria. It's flat. It's round. It's flat. It's round. A disc is both flat and round. Mostly inbred. Needed to be wiped out. Hilarious. All right. And with that, we've caught up with the chat.
I've been seeing a lot of people comment about Putin. He wants to release the Tataria records.
Ooh.
I don't know how true that is, but I've seen a lot of people talk about it. So
I like
if he
this.
does that, dude, that's gonna
It's-
be impressive.
Yeah.
That'd be bigger than like the JFK files. You know what I'm saying?
Why?
Because Tataria, the main part of Tataria was in that Russia-China area.
Oh,
So
Actually,
speaking of, yeah, go ahead.
he was giving away land on the I think it was the eastern part of Russia
To who?
to whoever wanted it.
Nice.
Yeah.
40 acres and a mule.
I would have to go back and find the article.
Yeah.
I don't know if
Only
it was
it's-
just the Russian citizens or anybody in general,
In Russia, it's probably 40 hectares and a bear.
right?
Did you catch in the chat earlier, before we get too far from Tartaria, this is kind of vaguely, maybe interestingly related. I forgot who in the chat, maybe it was Sneezer, I forgot who, was saying that Jacob might have been pretty tall to use a stone as a pillow. I thought that was an interesting point.
I did hear that.
but she did it along the Volga River.
Who are you talking about?
Catherine of Russia gave
Ah.
away land to the Germans along the Volga River.
You know, the Russians and the Germans go way back.
Yeah, they do. Wait, so are you saying that Germany used to be Russia?
No,
I don't know, but they've always been kind of paired up.
I'm a Volga German.
Nice.
Drink your beer.
Have another beer. Yoda, I was curious your reaction, if you have one and want to share it, with the fact that Esau didn't kind of maybe stick it to his dad. He completely stuck it to his dad and went and got an Ishmaelite for a third or fourth wife. Did you have a thought about that?
What do you mean stuck it to his dad?
He did it for revenge. He did a revenge marriage. Like the text just straight up says he knew it would piss off Isaac and he did it.
Well, I thought Isaac just didn't want him to marry a Canaan chick.
Right. So he went and got one. 3/4 of one. Because remember, Ishmael married an Egyptian. So Ishmael's already half Egyptian. So now you're 3/4 the bad people that he got a wife from.
I mean, I guess I could see it that way.
But it says in the verse in the chapter there that he did it just to piss him off. I'm sure she was hot too, right? Like you're not gonna marry somebody just to piss off your dad.
You mean like a Grisilla chick?
Right.
When it gets to the parts where they're naming like multiple people,
Yeah.
cousins and aunts and uncles, and without a diagram, it gets confusing to me. But I guess I could see it that way.
I think it was revenge from having had the blessing stolen from him. It's kind of petty.
It could have been coincidental because you fall in love with who you fall in love with.
Well, but it says, let's see, let me read it. Let me hear how it says. He saw that the daughters of Canaan displeased Isaac and went to Ishmael and married. So it sounds like he went out of his way. Like on purpose went shopping in Ishmael land.
Are you talking about 28, 8, and 9?
Yeah.
I didn't catch that.
How's it read in the King James?
And Esau, seeing that the daughters of Canaan pleased not Isaac his father, then went Esau unto Ishmael and took unto the wives which he had. I don't even know how to pronounce that shit. Mahalath,
Mm-hmm.
the daughter of Ishmael, Abraham's son, the sister of Nebajoth,
Yeah, nobody knows that
to
one.
be his wife. Like, dude, that confused the shit out of me. Who the hell is Nebajoth?
Right. Well, so I was able to track the dad was Ishmael, but I cannot find who Mahalath's mom is. I mean, I only spent 10 minutes, but it's not a lot to go on that I could find. Did you see, when you get a chance, there's a Reddit link that says Putin has declassified some of the archives.
Oh, really?
And it's in the chat. Sneezer posted it.
Okay, that's what's up.
Um,
I would like for
Yep.
I would like for a lot of this old world history to come out, because you know what? A long time ago, when I was a kid, and I must have been in like the 3rd or 4th grade, and they were talking about how some homes had lightning rods on top of the house.
Yeah.
And ever since, I kept wondering why. They didn't have no electronics, or, you know, that was before the light bulb.
Mm-hmm.
What was the lightning rod for?
Right.
You know what I mean?
And they'll tell you it was for storms, right? But we don't have them today.
Yeah. And then you look at a lot of these cathedrals, and people relate cathedral with cathode, like in electronics.
Yep.
Somehow you're able to store energy in red brick, or the kind of red brick they made back then.
Right.
And then
Perhaps.
you have the geometry, and then you have some of these cathedrals that have these monstrous, I don't even know what to call it, connected to the organ, and they're big ass pipes. You know what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people speculate that that was about frequency, and these were like healing centers or something like that, and that the stained glass windows and the that have the geometric patterns,
Right.
the glass is actually blocking the way that's supposed to work.
Right. It's got some lead in it or something like that.
I wouldn't doubt it. But I would like to know, because then you got these star forts that are surrounded by water. So there's an affiliation there with water, the geometric patterns. Because even with did you ever see that video where they're using frequency, and they got a little plate and they cover it with salt?
Yep.
And as they change the frequency, the patterns change.
Right.
So there's definitely something with geometry, patterns, and frequency, energy, and health. There's something there. And what we consider to be fireplaces, they had some kind of gizmo that would be in the fireplace, and you could control temperature throughout the year, whether it be hot or cold, right?
Yeah, they had good technology.
And there is energy in the air.
Yes.
The higher you go, the more energy there is.
Right.
But you got to be able to harness it.
Well, like airplanes might not use much fuel as they say.
I saw something about a year or so ago talking about how much fuel you would actually need to fly a plane, and where do you put it? So yeah, it makes you wonder, you know, are they using energy somehow and not telling us about it?
Yeah. I think they say some of it's stored underneath the airports, but I still think there's something there.
No, I'm talking about the plane itself. Where do you put it?
Oh, yeah. Right. I know. Yeah. It doesn't use as much fuel as they say.
It doesn't add up.
Yeah.
It does not add up.
Duppy had a pretty good joke earlier. Catherine the Great was Chunk Yogurt's ancestor.
Who's?
Chunk Yogurt.
Who's Chunk Yogurt?
Let me see if I can get.
Is that the guy off of Goonies?
Let's check. Chunk Yogurt.
Sorry.
Chunk Yogurt.
The only chunk I know is from the Goonies.
Yeah, I don't think it's that. I'm looking for. Oh, I wonder if it's that guy. Let's see.
Oh, great was the one that
Apparently running for Congress.
allowed.
Wait, did you say Chunk or Chuck?
Chunk. Chunk Yogurt.
That's his real name, or is it his nickname?
There really is a Chunk Yogurt, but I don't know a lot about Chunk Yogurt.
I've
Chat
never
will
heard it.
explain. Chat will explain and fill me in. Sneezer and Rev were talking a little bit back and forth in the chat about, is Cain the same as Tubal Cain? I tend to think they're not, but interesting question. I don't know if Rev was actually commenting on that. Cymatics. I don't remember what that is.
Cymatics has to do with like the earth and like I don't want to quite say earthquakes.
So, yeah.
Isn't that how they measure whether or not there's going to be an earthquake?
Seismics, something.
I could be mistaken.
All right, so
Which one of is it Duffy or Thaggy that is the geologist?
Duppy.
Okay.
Sneezer and Nova are both going anti-Pauline. I'll just state that I am a Pauline Christian, and we'll leave it at that for now, unless people want to debate it.
What is a Pauline Christian?
Nova said, Jesus said, follow the law. Paul said, screw it. And Sneezer said, Jesus didn't graft us into the Jew religion as Gentiles. He realized they were worshiping Satan, parentheses, law. So I'm taking both of those comments as different versions of anti-Paul. I hold to Paul. I think Paul's letters in the New Testament are good, but we could debate.
You know, Paul went through a lot to go from Saul to Paul.
Yeah.
From persecuting Christians to being a disciple. That is a huge difference.
Mm-hmm.
You know? You're not just switching your faith. You're actually becoming a part of the movement.
Yep.
That's a big deal.
Oh, Chunk Yogurt from the Young Turks.
Oh, is he the guy?
Czech Uyghur, maybe? I don't know how to pronounce it, but Chunk Uyghur.
You know, sometimes they make a lot of sense, and then there's times where it's like, you can't be that stupid. You're too smart to be that naive. You know what I mean? So I'm a little conflicted on them. I mean, how they're on the left, I don't know.
They sometimes seem right-ish.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I've seen them make some good points a few times. And I'll just leave that one right there.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I'm not so biased that I won't listen to the other side. But when it gets retarded, like the ladies on The View, I just I can't.
Right.
Like Drunk Pinata, he suffers through it, bro.
He's amazing.
I don't know how that man has the patience to deal with like looking at all the left news, CNN, MSNBC.
Because he's learning.
Oh, Sneezer. I knew I was moving too quick. Sneezer's like, oh, Sneezer, I like John. Yeah, for sure. And Thomas is the best, right? The gospel or just the character? The apostle. All right, so I was moving too quick on Paulinity.
All right, hold on. I'm gonna step outside so I can smoke a cigarette.
All right, when you get back, Jacob's Ladder.
No, I'm taking the phone with me.
Not to be a harsh taskmaster, but I'm just going top down through the chapter. What did you think about the vision of the angels going up and down from heaven to earth?
You know, the first thing that crossed my mind when it comes to Jacob's Ladder is the Tower of Babel. If that was a bad thing, why would he have this dream about a ladder reaching up to heaven?
Right. It was very good point, Yoda. I totally missed that. He basically dreamed of a successful Tower of Babel, right?
Pretty much. I mean, in a sense. You know?
A functioning one, yeah.
That's what crosses my mind when going over that. You know?
Well, and so there's a place you can go to, maybe more than one, but certainly at least one, where if you dream just right, you can see it. Supposedly, he marked it.
Wait, what do you mean?
He put a stone. He's like, all right, this is God's house. This is a doorway to heaven. And so he stood the stone up and poured oil on it.
But if it was a stone that he could pick up, either he's really big or the stone isn't that big, which would make it hard to find.
It might be big if he was 20 feet tall.
It's hard to say. I mean, we still got that chapter earlier in Genesis where they were eating all that food. I forget how many bags of flour.
Oh yeah, good point. Yeah, it was like these were big burgers.
Yeah. What was the brontosaurus burgers?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, but that's what I think of that's one of my first thoughts. Why he had the dream, either God just wanted his presence to be known more than what he already knows, you know?
Well, it seems to be how he confirmed, Abraham sent him out saying, hey, God bless you. Or no, Isaac sent him out saying,
Right.
may God give you Abraham's, what's the word? Covenant. And it seems like Jacob felt it was proven that he received it when he saw that dream. So it was a pivotal moment for him.
And then you get to the part where he says, I'll give you 1/10 of whatever you bless me with.
Yeah. Yeah.
I thought 1/10 was a bit steep. You know what I mean? Like, that's like
Off the
$10
top.
for every 100. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Do you
Well, I
remember?
guess that's not that bad.
It's a really, anything less is kind of easy, and anything more can really be disruptive. It's a very good guideline. These days, like my church, for example, doesn't give any rules. It's like just give from the heart.
Right. I get that the church needs money to function,
Yeah.
but I remember I was 20. I remember that. And my older cousin, he's like 4 years older than I am. We're kind of like brothers, the way we were raised instead of cousins. And one day he was just like, hey, man, let's find a church to go to.
Mm-hmm.
I know of one. It was around 75th Avenue, an Indian school. And we go to this church, and it's a black church. And what I noticed right off the bat, the pastor had a Lexus, the deacon had a Lexus,
Right.
and they're parked right up front by the door. You know what I mean?
Right.
You go inside, and two things. It's a fashion show and a jazz band. And half the time they were doing a concert. I don't like churches like that. I don't trust churches like that.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Smoke and mirrors.
Yeah.
Belushi gifted the can and says, bitch, with a heart. Thanks, Belushi.
What's up, Belushi? It's been a while, bro. You should chime in sometime.
Nova brings up
I don't trust churches like that.
Yeah, no.
And a lot of these ones that you see on TV, pandering, I can't stand that shit.
Yeah, I haven't watched TV church in like 10 years.
I would rather trust something like what we do because we're honest. We're not asking for shit. We're doing this because we want to. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, like, there are, so I hold to that baptism and Lord's Supper are good in, what do you call it? Ordained, what do you call it? things we're told to do. And that's about it. Just those two things. Well, and sing the Bible to each other and stuff like that.
My father was going to a church. The pastor, he's black. For the most part, it's a black church. And I really dug the fact that he was a vegetarian. Outside of being baptized, I don't really have a desire to participate with a church. No offense to you. You know what I mean? I feel like I don't need the church to have a relationship with Jesus or God. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong, you know?
Well, you'll eventually get to, you probably have already seen it. Do not forsake gathering together. So whatever that's defined as, you know, if you're gathering with Jesus followers, then you're doing what he said.
I would consider this gathering.
Yeah. I mean, I like to keep myself within a constraint of making sure I don't teach false doctrine. But short of that, I don't really hold a formal, like, I'm following the regulative principle and making sure we have elements of worship or any of that. Like, I don't do any officialness, but it is a gathering for sure.
Yeah.
We're digesting God's word, I would say.
I've always looked at it like that. I mean, it's not like we're being selective. We're just being open-minded and trying to perceive it. What's the word I'm looking for?
What is Belushi? I'm missing the joke here. He says, "Ain't no church black more white sucka?" ? You can't see the chat, can you?
No.
I might be reading it wrong.
He's probably trying to be funny.
I'm sure it's a joke in there. I just can't. I just don't have the reference.
No, because I was making the comment that it was a black church, and I think he's trying to say there is no church that's black and white or something.
Right, but the way it's hi Kiz is in the house. Duppy points out, going back to Jacob's ladder, that he had found an upside down Y could be a representation of Jacob's ladder, and it's in the East India Company logo.
Pull up the logo.
Yeah, let's check it out.
I know the East Indian Company, but I don't remember a logo.
It's got an upside down Y in it. I do remember that. Let me share this tab out. Open image in new tab. Share. There's a Jacob's ladder, possibly a Jacob's ladder right there.
That's their logo?
East India Tea Company. Yeah. That's their main one.
I see 3 crosses.
Yeah, for sure.
I've never seen this before. That's kind of puzzling. Why 3 crosses?
Right. Here's an interesting one. It's got a apple with a 4 on it. Man, these guys smell Masonic, don't they, a little bit with these pictures?
A little bit. And why underline the O? It's not even a full circle.
Mm-mm.
It's almost like 2 half moons.
Mm-hmm.
Nah, there's something not right about that.
It's creepy.
Thank you.
Right.
In a weird kind of way, it doesn't feel right. Just looking at it.
I know. Now, it could be because we know how, anti-human that company became or was from the start. But I think just on its own, it's creepy.
Yeah, I agree with you. What does the chat say?
upside down Y is also in the peace symbol. Interesting.
Wait, wasn't we were talking about a Y a couple of weeks ago, and I can't remember what it pertained to.
Belushi throws a cookie and says, "The joke was religion." Black Yoda G. Ross, you got it.
No, I figured as much. What were we talking about a Y a few weeks back? It was in a
It's the top of the pyramid.
It was like in a carving or something. You don't remember that? Duppy or Maggie brought it up.
Well, it came up as, well, you remember, so Q says to figure out who Y is. And I think the punchline is, Duppy, give me a high sign in the chat if I'm allowed to just state the punchline, because I know you've been doing that more often. We're gonna make him call in. Do you remember the? Let me see. Just in case it's past the scroll. That's the.
Hold on, look my Bible outside. Hold on.
Go get it. Two shadows from one cross. Rev, nice call. So that means there's two suns. Ooh. Oh, yeah, Duppy, you got to save some digging info for tomorrow night. So that sounds like, so Belushi, I was flying to, I forgot what I was doing, but I was in an airplane or something when you had Duppy on. So now I'm learning you got tomorrow night. So that's fantastic. Belushi and Duppy, I can't wait to see that. That's awesome. Yeah,
They're doing a show together
tomorrow. I just saw it mentioned in the chat.
On whose channel?
Probably Belushi's.
What time?
That's a good question. Duppy, what time is your show tomorrow with Belushi?
Well, tomorrow's show's off the rails, so there's no format to it. I hadn't planned on showing anything tomorrow night, but if they want to see it, what I put together was a presentation on fascism and the East India Company.
Ooh.
Okay.
And since Pete really likes the topic of fascism, that kind of got his attention as something he
so this will be on PTP podcast?
I think so,
okay.
But I have no time or date that he would want to do it. I just let him know that I was ready to do it.
I got you.
If Belushi wants to visit it a little bit tomorrow, that's fine too.
Well,
I've got enough material that it can span both shows.
The regular call-in, because I know Belushi's regular on PTP podcast, and I want to say maybe that's what tomorrow is. I don't know.
Well, that show is now being hosted by Belushi instead of PTP, the Thursday night one.
Got it. All right.
So
fantastic.
Let me share my screen, and I'll show you what I found with that logo.
Right on. While you're sharing the screen, Stevus has Yahweh. There's a big Y in Yahweh.
Yeah, I've wondered about that too.
Yeah. I didn't until you guys just said it.
Well, you remember my shows when I talk about Y, right?
Well, I'm going to say, to me, okay, my dumbass kindergarten level learning is that it's the top of the pyramid. It's related to the Bin Bin Stone.
Yep.
It's 666.
Wait. What's the Bidman stone?
Like the navel of the earth.
Well,
it's where heaven meets earth.
The very top, like when you look at the back of a dollar bill, right? You remember how the very top of the pyramid is detached and has the eye on it?
Right.
That detached top, that top portion of the pyramid is known as the Ben Ben stone. And it's symbolic of the creation of the world in ancient Egyptian mythology.
I thought originally the top of the pyramid was gold.
Some people say that. I don't know if that's really been proven, but yeah, that's a pretty common conception.
And they say the pyramids generated electricity, and gold is a superconductor.
That's one interpretation. I haven't found anything that convinces me about them being power generation stations, although I know a lot of people feel pretty strongly about that. I did run across a really interesting bit of research this guy did where he makes a case that they might have been ancient chemical engineering facilities where they were making things like ammonia to use as fertilizer in the delta and things like that, which I found was really, really interesting.
That is a new one to me.
I have a
Yeah,
old,
that's pretty new.
I have a old piece of, you could call it evidence. It's a 1970s, mid 70s Disney comic book with Donald Duck that says pyramids have power.
It has something to do with the aquifers underneath the pyramids to help with the process of the energy, from what I understand. And Tesla based a lot of his some of his research off of that. Matter of fact, I think Tesla is part of the old world.
Oh yeah.
I don't think all of that was originally his doing. I think he either found old world tech or he was just a part, because he was during that period.
That
Or right after.
is known as the Ben Stone. And
Norm, you're time
symbolic
traveling.
of the creation
Real quick,
of the world.
Belushi gave clarity in the chat.
Mythology.
Thursday
I
is
thought
off the
originally
rails.
the top of the pyramid was gold.
Thursday is
Hey,
off the rails, and
you
Duppy
have a-
is
you
on
have a
Fridays.
Norm,
have a
fix
blue-
your shit.
Norm, we're
What?
gonna meet you.
What?
I mean,
what?
Alien
what-
Surfer.
What's
Fix
wrong
your
with it?
shit.
What's wrong with it?
There's a big echo on it. We're hearing ourselves from like 20 seconds ago.
We're time travelers.
No. It should be fixed.
It is now.
All right.
Yeah, I don't hear it
Okay.
anymore.
So Thursday is off the rails, and Friday is the Duppy Show
Duppy, say something because you sounded kind of
on
muffled
Belushi.
a little while ago.
Do I sound okay now?
Yeah, you do. You do.
Okay. Then I don't think that's correct, G. Ross. I don't.
It says
Friday,
we have Duppy on Fridays. It says it in the chat by Belushi. It says it.
What?
Read
I'm
the
not-
chat.
Well, I-
Belushi.
I was in the midst of sharing something.
Oh, sorry.
Let me click over there real quick. What did he say?
We have Duppy on Fridays
Oh,
with a side of fries.
well, yeah, it's kind of confusing because
Well, Thursday is the off
Belushi
the
wants
rails.
me to show something on Friday. That's cool. I don't know what he's got planned.
Just do it.
I could do the East India Company stuff if he wanted to, but then Pete might get upstaged or something. I don't know.
Okay.
Well,
I'll do it. I'll
listen.
do it twice if people want.
You talk to your agent and you get it figured out.
You have your people talk to his people. Hold on.
Yeah.
I gotta fix my shit. I do have to fix my
All right, I'm gonna share this thing real quick. You
Yeah,
guys
please
ready?
do. Please do. Norm, Hangton Alien Surfer, you're looking good. See,
does
I
it
was
say?
going to say Peregrine Cavendish.
What
Well-
does it say under the letters? I can't see it. It's
L.
written in yellow.
So E is L, I is Isis, and C is Cavendish.
Well, do you remember from my
I was going to say that.
my first shows? I had a slide where I talked about the similarities of like an unholy trinity
Mm-hmm.
in the
Father,
pagan
Mother, Son.
religions.
Oh,
Yeah, exactly.
That does depict the Trinity, doesn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, and but
that's actually why St. Patrick went over to Ireland. Well, when he went over in Ireland, he picked the clover. Because it's not unholy. It's just
No, but there's a unholy.
metaphor.
there's an unholy version of it, and it depends from my interpretation. It depends on who is in this position here. and it goes back to the Osiris myth in Egypt. At one time, this was Osiris, but in the Osiris myth, remember, Set kills Osiris and chops him up into 14 pieces,
Right.
one of which gets swallowed by the fish or whatever.
The phallus gets
Right.
his dick gets
So,
swallowed.
since Osiris is dead, he's not the god of life anymore. He's the god of the afterlife only. And so presumably Set now takes this position.
Wait, hold on. If that's the case, where does that put Anubis?
He's not on here because he's not one of the three primary gods
You know,
in this Trinity thing.
having studied under Duppy lectures for a while now, I'm starting to realize it's encoded in every ending of every Scooby-Doo episode.
So, well, it was always the creepy guy that we never saw in any episode. That was the creepy what was his title? He was like the manager of the amusement park or something like
Yeah,
that.
always like the night manager, and he's always got a mask, and so he looks like the hero, and they're both pointing saying, "Come on, you know it's him. You know I would never do that."
Yeah.
And that's this Elohim and Set thing. Like, they keep taking each other's position, like Inky and Enlil.
Yeah, it's kind of like that.
Yeah.
There's so many similarities across all those pagan religions that you can't help but wonder who seeded these ideas across all these civilizations.
Exactly. Well, if you think it was seeded by the original and it was like bastardized or mutated at one point or another, because I'm Irish. I have a shamrock right here. Not a four-leaf clover. A four-leaf clover means luck. A shamrock is the Trinity.
Right.
As taught by St. Patrick. But, you gotta think if it was like, because the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit are all one being, but they're part of the same plant, right? So that's
Nova. Nova says ISIS makes a divine dildo. Totally accurate.
So can I finish this one up and then I stop sharing it?
No, go ahead.
Okay, so if you remember my early shows when I was doing the symbology stuff, and I, made a case that there's like this Trinity that in the Osiris myth, you end up with kind of the evil god in this place at Set in Egypt, in the Egypt mythology. But I did a lot of digging on that who people think the equivalents are. And in Canaan, El is often associated with Set, not Osiris. It's kind of scary. And another equivalent would be Cronus in the Greek would be the equivalent of this as well.
And I was always curious as to why so many angels, their names end in L. So it made me wonder if L is a position.
Well, the easy explanation that I've run across is that El is the Canaanite word for God, and it might not be specific to any one god, given that they were polytheistic. So anything could be something El, and therefore just be a descriptor of this being a god.
You know who Zechariah Sitchin is, right?
Yeah.
I have his whole set, and Bernie got it for me for Christmas one year. And there was one book in particular that I wanted to read, but I never got into them because I just find the whole concept of Anunnaki just difficult to buy.
Well, most people just look at it as, oh, they're aliens. From what I can tell, anyway.
If you find the Anunnaki hard to believe, then you should put that in the same category of everything you've ever been taught or ever fucking known society to lean you in any one direction ever in life.
Is that Belushi?
That's Belushi coming in strong.
Yeah. What's up, bro?
Word. I felt like I was waiting for a gap. I'll explain schedules and stuff later. But yeah, like what Dumpy's saying is so true because Black Yoda, you have to understand, like, put it in the perspective of here's how I've started to approach everything now is I know fuck all about anything ever and I know nothing.
Yep.
And if I approach everything like I know nothing, then I'm open to receive the message from the truth.
That's a good point.
But we are all aliens to aliens, by the way.
Well, it's kind of, hey, Belushi, that's kind of interesting the way you said that, because when I started down this, 3 years ago, I was a blank slate. I knew a lot about rocks, but I knew nothing about history. So I was a blank slate.
And a sponge, and that's so important, Duppy, and that's why you have such a good, unique perspective. Because, and like why I try to keep myself a lot of ways at arm's distance from certain topics and things. Because if I start to take firm stances on things, I start to close my mind to certain possibilities. Does that make sense? Never close the door; always leave it ajar.
No, I'll give you a great example. Like I believe in the firmament. So it makes the concept of aliens difficult for me because how do you get through the firmament?
Jacob's ladder.
Yeah, and I'll give my example of that exact same thing. Being a earth scientist, a lot of those topics are a closed book for me.
You're doing a good job opening the book, Duppy.
No, I'm not opening up that book. This is a different one. This is a new book.
You've opened so many
He's
books.
saying that your mind is a muscle, guys. So the more you exercise it and the more you break it down and rebuild it, the more kind of like it's just like no pain, no gain kind of concept.
Yeah.
Like if you can't break things down, they won't rebuild.
Duppy, real quick, have you read any of Zachariah Sitchin's work?
I wouldn't say I've read it, but I've read about it. I haven't read his exact work. And what I can say about it is that in the Sumerian pantheon, there's probably a way to construct a trinity kind of a situation like this. They all have it. They all have a mama god, a daddy god, and a baby god. And the baby god hangs out on earth and the other ones kind of hang out in the heavens.
Here, let me go get the set because there was one. It was one of the red books. Hold on, real quick.
So anyway, G. Ross, what I wanted to show you with this one is that when I had seen this logo a long time ago, but when I was working on this East India stuff the last week and a half or whatever, I didn't really include it in anything until I got to the very end, and I immediately saw, holy shit, this looks like the upside down Y that I put on top of the Q drop pyramid, and it fit. And then, I had that whole scenario about the Trinity and this thing being the Ben stone and this top part possibly Jacob's ladder and all that, if you remember. And then I was looking at this and I drew these red lines on here, and then I was like, holy shit. This is the Trinity, El, Isis, and remember what this was down here?
Yeah, well, you have it.
It was Horus or the Pharaoh.
Right.
And in this case, in the grand scheme of everything I've been putting together, who am I saying is the Pharaoh? Cavendish. And I also think, with the work that I've done, that Cavendish was always the principal shareholder in the East India Company from the very beginning.
EIC, baby. There you go. I'm with Duppy on this.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
You know, it
Anyway.
really seems like you can't escape Isis and Osiris.
So guys, and I'll say this, we do our off the rails on Thursday night, Duppy will be there. We won't necessarily jump into this, but Friday and the previous Friday, and if Duppy is available this Friday, we could do something continuation on this. But when you guys brought up the East India Company, I immediately thought of the 4+ fucking hours we did the other night, where Duppy actually takes you through the line and literally breaks it down to the Cavendish and breaks it down to where the lines drew and where this company first started and then where it goes. And then fast forward to modern day politics and you look at all these families and bloodlines and what's occurring right now, like literally in real time, the shit we're seeing in the fucking, with the Biden family right now, it's so fucking apropos and it's so crazy and it's so real time, biblically ties back to all of the corruption, all of the ways that commerce moves, and then where will we land and where will we actually start to build and rebuild on the other side of this is the great question. Has now become the great question. So once you have the foundation, you do the research and you understand how this mafia operates, it now becomes, how do you separate yourself from the system, still being able to have influence over the system to bring people along to build the new future? That is the measure and the test of God, in my opinion.
Belushi, I heard Caviezel or Ballard or one of them say in one of the interviews a few days ago, they said, if the people don't, I'm paraphrasing, but what my takeaway was, if the people do nothing, nothing will happen. And that matches what you.
Wait a minute, I got another Caviezel for you that happened this week.
But I mean, I just want to tie into what Belushi was saying because he said it perfectly. It's like we're at a turning point. We're at what maybe Bannon would call the fourth turning or whatever.
You're muted, brother.
Oh.
No, you're not. I can hear him.
Oh, you can hear him? I can't hear him.
Anyway, stuff.
Okay.
but look up.
I hate Jitsi. I'll be right
flag.
back. I'll log back in.
Right
Look up the flag of the East India Company.
I've got that. I've got that in my slides.
I have a comment.
Yep.
All right. So in the picture that Duppy was,
I can't hear anybody. All right, I'm gonna come back in.
Sorry, Belushi.
In the picture that Duppy was showing just a little bit ago, did you guys see the pyramid in that?
Yep.
Yes, that's the Ben stone.
The capstone. It was the capstone. It wasn't the actual pyramid. It was just top.
No, if you think of it in a 3D, I mean, I saw the pyramid in that.
Oh, right. Yeah. 3D
Yeah,
also.
it is.
Did you guys hear anything I said before?
Heard it all, Belushi.
We
it
heard
lit me on
everything.
fire.
Okay, all right. I'm sorry. All right.
Yeah, no. It was fantastic. And I just want to share with you that it made me think of some of the interviews on Sound of Freedom. And there's these little things they slip out. They're basically saying, if nobody does anything, nothing's going to get done. And it was almost like an admonition of the people.
All right,
like they've done their turn. It's now on us.
I'm going to blow your mind with Caviezel right
But I just want to know if Belushi caught that the second time I attempted.
I just caught what you just said, and I totally agree.
Right on.
That movie is going to wake up a lot of people.
Yep.
Hey, we got rain. Was that rain?
By the way, I can't help but seeing Jim Caviezel as J.K. Weasel or Jesus Christ Weasel. I can't help but see that in the name. Sorry.
That's disturbing.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, my God, people. It is finally raining here in Phoenix.
Woo-hoo. Grats. Oh,
Congrats.
wow.
In the middle of the summertime, it must be a hot rain.
Dude, we get the monsoon season. That's what this is. But the last couple of weeks, we've had a heat wave. One night it was
couple of months.
It was 1:45 in the morning, and it was still 100 degrees.
3 pluses in a Caviezel tweet.
Yeah, this is an Instagram, I think. I had seen somebody post on Telegram on We the Media something like this, and I was kind of like, wow, and I didn't think to save it, and then Anka brought it up to me later, and I said, oh, you're right, I need to go find that thing, and I didn't even know where to go look for it, but she found it for me on Instagram.
Wait,
This
is that
version of
him?
it.
Is that him behind Trump?
I think so.
He's naming the
Yeah.
pharaoh, if I can say it.
Look at that. He's basically
Yeah.
equating Pharaoh with the cabal, which
Right.
is pretty much my whole thesis.
Yeah.
What was the movie? I actually just saw this on my Roku.
You've been
but
drinking all day.
I didn't watch it, but what was the movie he was in? Outlander, I think.
Why do you want mine?
Wait, who was in Outlander?
With Jim Caviezel.
Oh, I didn't know that.
The movie. Well, it wasn't a TV show.
I got you.
There's a TV show called Outlander, but
Right.
but he played like the Nordic god that came down as an alien.
Mm-hmm.
What was that? The movie Outlander? What
Maybe you're thinking of like the Thor and Greek mythology.
Well,
in a grind with Marvel.
He was basically Thor, but
yeah.
The movie was, I believe, it was called Outlander.
Okay, I'll say this, guys, real quick. Can you guys hear me, by the way?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'll say this about Jim Caviezel. What happened in the shift? I mean, those of you who know a little bit about me and my tie, and Norm actually knows a little bit more than probably most. My ties to Hollywood and my actor friends and stuff. When I'm hearing from them, and what was happening still when I was in that realm, when I was living in LA and stuff, like what Jim Caviezel is doing, and the silent sort of alliance that is forming in Hollywood against child trafficking and pedophilia is real. Okay, guys, it's real. Not only that,
definitely
what Jim Caviezel did, especially during Passion of the Christ, and what Mel Gibson essentially and optically yard sailed his career. Dude, he literally, during Passion of the Christ, when he was on that fucking cross filming that, and Mel Gibson is a fucking savage and pushed him to limits beyond that any production or actor has ever, I think, in a filming role had to face. Motherfucker had a stroke, was struck by lightning.
Yep.
Dude, like what he went through.
He almost died like 3 times, bro.
Dude, bro, what he went through and how he talks about literally like how, like, because I've had my own ascension with Christ, like how he brings you to the brink of death and shows you. Just like people are like giving him shit, like, oh, this production company once had a tie to this thing in some cloud service somewhere. Same thing with Rumble. Guess what, guys? The same cloud service fucking funds Truth Social. Okay. If we want to get
icon.
Hold on a second, Norm. If we want to get into the semantics of that shit, and like because in our community we have such a mind of like we distrust first, prove, and then verify, right? Like we have this like mentality like. You can't get past our gates because we're our own gatekeepers.
Right.
However, I think if you take a step back from that for a minute and you start to realize that not every person involved in every single industry that may be demonic or nefarious is somebody who's an agent of the fucking Antichrist.
Right.
Okay, because I've worked in these agencies, I've worked in these industries, and I'm not an agent of Antichrist. But when you're in it, you don't actually see it and realize it because it's so compartmentalized. And the same thing holds true for a Jim Caviezel, who is literally trying to bring people through a journey. And now you're seeing it with all the mainstream media podcasts. You're seeing everybody sort of come to their own sense of understanding and truth, and it's sort of a middle ground. Now we've presented. Without label, without something that is you have to adhere to being a QAnon or whatever the fuck you get labeled, because everything's about labels, right? You have to have a label, you have to have a team. No, you don't. No, you don't have to have a team. The team is Team God, motherfucker. And as soon as people, the revival, the resurgence of the spirit is coming to the forefront, and you cannot deny it. You cannot. It is tangible. You can taste it. The tears are salty, and it doesn't matter. And here's the thing that my biggest thing, my epiphany that I've realized recently, G. Ross, and I might even do a fucking show where I go on Twitter Spaces and invite liberals to come on and talk to me, is because no, I'm not even joking. It's because they're not the enemy, dude. They're not the fucking enemy.
Right.
I want to make this real clear for people. They are not the enemy. They are human beings who are trying to get through just like we are. And if we all fucking work together, and I hate to sound like a hippie here, when we all work together under the guise of Jesus Christ, then and you're gonna have to make a choice, by the way. Because let me tell you something, and I'll get off my rant in a second. Let me tell you something. When I do a lap around and understanding somebody who's been in popular culture, who has been an entertainer, who has done all these things all around the world, anyone around the world is so susceptible to glitz and glamour, fucking tinsel and town. Okay? The bread and circuses have to be created and around in a sense that, and I hate to sound like a diversity hire, that is all inclusive, not just elites. So now you have this whole subsect of society that, like, and that trans is a perfect example, participating in things that are cross boundary, the inversion of God's design, the Antichrist. So we have a real hill to climb ahead of us, because if you don't recognize those things and you don't start to operate in his spirit and then push that fucking light on every single person that you could encounter in your daily life, none of it matters, because that encounter with somebody isn't like, oh, who'd you vote for? That is so far from anything that matters.
Right.
And Belushi, let me comment on one thing. I've seen studies where the conservative mind and the liberal mind, or the leftist mind, they're patterned differently.
Well,
like they're physically different.
But I don't think you're understanding what Belushi's saying.
No, he's saying that they're not the enemy, but what I'm saying is our brains are physically different.
Well, there's the left and the right mind. There's creative mind and the analytical mind. Correct. You are correct about that. But I was a creative person. I moved to Hollywood to be creative. I actually started in the computer world in Hollywood, and you're giving it a black and white explanation when there's actually, we are both left and right minded. But what Belushi's saying, there's even people in Hollywood. Clint Eastwood started this, from what I understand, was there's a conservative pocket in Hollywood. And,
so maybe
I seen Clint Eastwood at a CPAC convention, and he was talking about Obama. Clint Eastwood is actually a really good comedian.
No, dude. Okay, let me give you guys an example to sort of just finish off what I'm saying. I'm going to shut up and let you guys go on it.
Yeah.
Is the element of humanity, okay?
Right.
Like your Bill Burrs, your and you know where it's most prevalent in mainstream in Hollywood right now, because all of the Tom Cruises and the View and the late night shows and all those faggots, like all that shit is gone. That culture is dead, right? So you have this emergence of all these. Now what's happening is, always has it been in history, the jesters who are inside the kingdom but are dancing on laser beams, operating between the lines. Those motherfuckers are thriving again now, out of the ashes, just like the phoenix, and they are bringing back the baseline of truth. And so as these mainstream motherfuckers start to figure it out, and you watch the light bulb go on with Tucker Carlson, you watch the light bulb, fucking RFK, dude. You watch the light bulb go on in America. You have to fucking look at the signals and look at how much awakening is occurring right now in real time, regardless of an election, regardless of how fucked our world is, regardless. The fucking shift has started.
Watch the whole Tucker Carlson interview with Ice Cube. Because Ice Cube, at the beginning of the interview, everybody's just showing that end of the interview. But he's talking about where he grew up. He's talking about like his life before everything. And everybody watches the last few minutes where he's talking about like the vax. But that one that came out yesterday.
I didn't see the whole thing, but I saw part of it.
Watch the whole thing.
Well, I feel like Belushi, you've put it eloquently. Fuego. I don't have anything to add. I just want to applaud and say nice summary. Well put. I could maybe say this. Jesus is going to hip check both political parties.
Can I make a proposal for a Friday night show, Belushi?
Yes, sir.
So since you seem to want to do a series of shows, what I would like to do Friday, because what I showed the last time was like the very end of the story.
Right.
So on Friday, I'd kind of like to start at the beginning and show all the symbolism stuff that got me started, and that will relate to what I just showed you with the East India Company.
Perfect. And I'm actually, because I just talked to the Mats again, like we're gonna, guys, by the way, if you've been coming over on Thursday and Friday nights, like we do really, really, really long shows. And then, of course, because I'm a fucking asshole, I will go and then do a 6-hour show on top of that. So we've been losing some recordings. Everyone, if you haven't followed me over on Rumble, please do so, because that's where the full recordings are. Duppy, bet. We're gonna do Thursday, and we're gonna get into some stuff with the group, TN Homesteader, and I'm gonna have a couple special guests, surprise guests for everyone again, because I kind of like doing that. Friday night, Duppy, game. We're in, and it'll be the same time Friday night. And so Duppy, I told Duppy this before, and I'm gonna put him on the spot. I want you to guide that Friday night. And so if you could do it this Friday, we'll do it. If not, we'll do it next Friday. It doesn't matter to me.
Yeah, I can do it Friday.
Nice.
TN Homesteader is probably one of my most favorite people.
This
The
way,
brain on the guy
Belushi,
is awesome.
This way, Belushi, I get to keep the East India Company show for Pete as originally.
Yeah, no, yeah, do that.
Well,
And I'll text Pete right now and tell him he's an asshole and he should quit talking.
All right.
Lately it's been on your channel, Belushi, but is it going to be on Pete's channel tomorrow, or?
No, guys, Off the Rails is my show. It started off as called The Locker Room, and then I took it to Pete's channel, and then now it's on my channel. I'm the showrunner. It's always been my show. It's called Off the Rails. It's on my show Thursday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern time every fucking week.
Woot.
All right, well, I got a plan.
Nice.
Wasn't there something that you were going to show right now, Duppy?
I just showed it, the Jim Caviezel Instagram.
Did you catch it?
Whatever you want to call it.
Okay. That picture with Trump.
Who's seen the movie on this panel?
Seen it.
Oh God! Wait a minute. I just remembered something else I found.
Has everybody seen it on this panel?
I haven't seen it yet.
You have not.
I've seen it.
I was waiting for the
send you a weird hacked link on Rumble or Odyssey, or I think maybe it's on. I think it's on
the
Rumble.
one with slots lights on it.
Yeah. That's how I watched it.
Yeah, heck yeah.
I've seen it.
No, it's out there. You guys can watch it.
Belushi, you got to see this.
Wait, so you have it on your Rumble, Belushi?
Not on mine, but I can pull you a link real quick.
Hey, G Ross, will you grab that link and DM it to me?
Yes, I will.
All right, appreciate you.
I mean, I don't have the link right now. I stole it from Liana Wilbert.
She got it from me. All right, let me dig it up.
Nice.
I'll dig it up. Hold on.
So, Belushi, Court Jesters, my favorite one to watch, and there's many out there, is Owen Benjamin. You ever catch him?
Oh, hell yeah, dude.
Yeah.
He's very interesting. And he's fucking Cartman, dude.
He is.
But he's literally Cartman. Like,
yeah, he does the Cartman persona.
Motherfucker's deep, dude.
Yeah.
Like, he understands how the fucking Matrix works, bro.
Mm-hmm.
You plan on drinking that whole beer?
I'll be honest with you guys. My ultimate goal, if I do anything with my podcast, is to get Andrew Tate as a guest on my podcast.
Ooh, nice.
You know what? He'd probably do it too, Belushi.
I know. I'm really thinking about the angles I have and how do I get. I could get to him actually.
Nice.
Hey, Belushi, you want to see what I found in the movie Sound of Freedom?
Yes, please.
You'll like this because All right, you remember this slide that I showed at the very end a couple weeks ago on your show?
Yes,
Where I
of
talked
course.
about,
Yeah.
remember the Jenna Jameson tweet? And she
Uh-huh.
says, the ones that hide in the shadows under the cover of a crown.
You know what's fucked up, Deppy? Just pause right there. Like, and I'll just leave it there in terms of my exposure to my time around the porn industry in LA. Like, Jenna is woke AF, bro.
Oh,
Like,
yeah, I've seen her tweets.
Oh, yeah. She's been on this for a while.
Yeah.
And this is the part of the Silent Alliance I'm talking about in Hollywood.
Nice.
Right.
North of where I live here in Phoenix, there's a mountain called Camelback, and she has a house on Camelback Mountain.
Yeah. I remember she does live in Arizona, I think.
Yeah.
So check this out, Belushi. I was watching, I think somebody was playing Sound of Freedom on one of the Foxhole channels, and I watched it kind of for the second time, and I saw this.
Right.
Look at that tattoo on the
tattoo.
back.
Yeah.
Yep, the crown.
The crown.
The crown.
Yep.
Wow. Yep.
Big time, dude.
Who's the tattoo?
The amount of detail. First of all, anything you should know about this film, and I know this, I'm like preaching to the choir in this community, but like, any fucking opposition and the level of attack that occurred when this came out was okay. So here's what happens, guys.
I was going to mention.
Hold on a second. Yoda. Hold on a second. When you option a script in Hollywood, oftentimes what happens, and especially with a film like this, not even a controversial film, studios will buy it just to shelve it. Right. Just like these guys had this shit on the shelf for 6 fucking years and even had the production done, it still got shelved. They still made the film without all the financing backing out. And that's what they do. They will literally control narrative through movie fucking manipulation and what scripts get optioned or not to which studios and what gets made and what doesn't get made. That is all part. And by the way, that is all controlled by China now. That has always been Hollywood has rolled. So if there was a rival actor or a rival studio or rival agents that hated each other for some stupid petty bullshit, this is how petty Hollywood is. They will fucking table a script. They will put it on the shelf.
They will buy a script if they're making a movie that is just like what they're doing. They will buy a movie.
Bro, it didn't fit the satanic Netflix model, bro.
Right.
It got shelved.
Well, do you guys remember when Cuties was on Netflix?
Yep.
That was kind of different, but yeah.
To Belushi's point, no, hold on. To Belushi's point, you had magazines like Rolling Stone and a couple other ones write articles about Cuties, praising it.
Right.
But then these same magazines slandered the hell out of the Sound of Freedom.
Well put, Yoda.
So that should tell you something.
So I mentioned Owen Benjamin.
They don't like that this movie is out.
So Owen Benjamin is kind of my clown preacher of check yourself before you make too many assumptions. And
clown preacher is good because he's a little too in your face to be. He's Owen. He's Owen.
Yeah. Well, and I heard his tirade before I saw the movie. So I was kind of predisposed to be a little grumpy about the movie, and the movie still broke through. So, as much as Owen's having his Cartman fun, this movie is in the zone.
That's the thing about him. I kind of land the same place. I think that you are sort of alluding to there, G. Ross, is and all the other people that came out and were like, it's tied to this and that and the other. And my example is, okay, look at who the crowdfunding source for the servers of Truth Social is. Same as Rumble. Same as all the shit you guys are talking. Like, Rumble's going to be Vanguard. Vanguard has got a fucking piece of everything, guys. Right. If we run around not fucking operating because Vanguard has a piece, we're done.
Well, Jesus went in and hung out with the tax collectors.
No, he didn't hang out with them.
And then he turned over the tables.
He flipped the tables.
Tables over. That was Mark.
That's the Babylon money I was talking about in the chat earlier.
Yep.
But here's another thing, and here's the thing that I've sort of come back to around again, because I've been able to operate inside the matrix, make a lot of money, and then jump out, and then I'm bitter about it, right? Like I look at from the outside and go, I don't want to go back in there. Right. But like one thing I'm realizing is you have to pick your spot in this simulation, and if you want to be the best gamer in this game, because it's a fucking game, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to, if you want true freedom, you need to go inside in there and make as much fucking money as possible and get out like a fucking Vegas casino. That is the only way.
Fight from within inside, Belushi.
In the world, not of the world.
I've told you this before, Belushi. You cannot leave the fight.
Right. I think you guys are.
You have to stay behind enemy lines, and you have to.
Well, we're told to be in the world, but not of the world, to put it super quick.
Exactly. And it wears you down. It does make you older. It makes you.
There's times where I have to take a break. There's times where I'll just unplug for like a week.
You're supposed to.
I do too.
Yep.
But
I mean, I'd go insane if I didn't do that.
I drink. I drink too much because of this.
Yeah.
And I don't like to give that as an excuse, but it's actually not because of this, because of me.
But you know what?
Yeah.
Norm, I can fall into that trap too, but it's the same fucking paradigm, which is this: the weakening and the easy excuse to fall back and be like, you know what? It's not me. Fuck this. I'm gonna check out.
Right.
Is exactly them winning.
Right.
Exactly. I caught myself. I said it, but
yep. Amen.
About 4 or 5 years ago, I was going down some rabbit holes that for that week just messed me up. And that Friday, one of the guys that worked with me, he was like, so what are you going to do when you get home? And I was like, man, after all of this shit that I learned this week, I'm going to stop at Fry's, which is a grocery store here. And I'm going to buy a fifth of Hennessy. And dude, when I got home, I opened up the bottle. I didn't even grab a glass. I just straight out the bottle, bro. Because the shit that I learned that week was just so dark.
Right.
I think that was when I first learned about adrenochrome.
I stay away from the real dark stuff.
It's wise.
Yeah, I know enough. I don't need to know more.
Dude,
I only touch it if it fits in with the history stuff.
Yeah, the timeline, because it's really heavy, man.
Dude,
it hurts. It hurts.
You only touch it like.
Let me tell you guys something, especially for somebody who has children. Like, it hurts, man. It hurts.
Dude, you guys remember the video that they talk about with Hillary Clinton and Uba Abedin torturing that little girl?
Yeah, I don't even want to talk about it.
Wait. Just real quick.
Taking off her face and wearing it.
Dude, somebody
That's horrible.
They posted the picture on Facebook.
Okay.
And I made the comment, I've been aware of this and I've been going out of my way not to see this shit. And it was just right there, bro.
I seem to remember that like 4 years ago, there was a fake pic like what you described out there.
Yeah.
All I know is the Bethesda bathroom torture shit that I saw like 6 years ago. I had nightmares for months.
Yeah. Are you talking about when he was screaming at that little girl?
Listen to me. We don't have to have that level of exposure for people to understand and grasp the absolute severity and how real this is. And that's why this film is dangerous for them. Yes. And that's why it is so important.
Well, because the film did a beautiful job of just easing in. I mean, it's not.
Yeah, you don't need the graphic. You don't need the graphic because the implied situation is there, and it's enough to allow a mainstream public to go, holy fucking shit.
It's literally a jab.
Holy fucking shit. And then if they turn into, whatever mainstream bullshit to see the opposition, it's just like Trump during the COVID pressers. when he was literally laying out facts and saying, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, and then implementing programs. And then the mainstream saying the exact opposite, and people going, I just watched him. He does a daily presser. And compare it to the daily pressers now with fucking yoga face. Like, if okay, let me put it this way, and I'm not the guy who's like, there's a plan and the military's we're in devolution and jerk me off. No, what I'm saying is there has to be a strategic objective plan to understanding, respond, and react to the art of war and negotiation. And how you deal in business is every approach that you're seeing in popular culture. And when you literally can lay out what is happening in real time and then show it, and then back away, like, I'm not the one in charge. I'm just going to continue to shine a light on this while I come back into fucking power. That is very, 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 very strong. Not only that, if you look at the political climate with RFK emerging now, like, and by the way, if we don't go independent across the board and fucking take this whole thing down, I think we're fucked. But
Trump
like,
RFK could go independent.
dude,
saying that
I would like to see that.
You said something very key, negotiation. And negotiation is where everything breaks.
Well, you don't want to negotiate. Is that what you're saying?
Okay. Let's do this. Let's do this. America is a company,
Right.
and we're in default and we're in bankruptcy.
Also
what happens?
True.
What happens? You break off and you sell off the assets.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you see, they implemented that.
Whoa! What's happening right now?
They implemented that Fed now.
No.
Well,
No, we're selling off assets. Like
we're selling off
China.
assets.
It's in default.
Thank you, Duppy. Correct. 100% Duppy.
It's in default whether we're in Chapter 9 or Chapter 13. It doesn't.
What's an example of an asset we've let go?
Land.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
national parks,
land, intellectual property,
ports,
manufacturing,
IP.
And by the way, and the reason that you're seeing a lot of movement around this proxy war and where NATO is failing and falling is exactly that, because the power has now been reconsolidated to the east. It's always been an east versus west. Like, do you guys remember in the 90s, like the rap wars, like Biggie versus Tupac?
Yes.
That's what's happened. Okay, so like for Americans, like maybe I can put it in in that context for people. This is Biggie versus fucking Tupac right now.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Well, you got these BRIC nations that are about to take over. The dollar is going to fall, or is it? Or it's in the process.
No, it's not falling. It's being redefined and restructured, but not by the people we want. Okay,
correct.
So,
and that's why the inflation. Okay, there's inflation is based on our national currency, right? Because originally it was based on the price of gold, but price of gold is based on the dollar. So the more the dollar falls, the more gold is worth.
Here's the thing. It's actually the opposite.
It's
actually the opposite of that, Norm. So the standard in 71, when Nixon took us off the gold standard and we went to the petrodollar, right? Because petro is something that we can actually peg the fiat dollar to. So once you peg the dollar to the fiat, and then that is the speculation that occurs in the market, and when ebbs and flows, when you look at inflation and you look at the stability of gold, it's not that gold is going up and the dollar's losing value. It's the dollar's losing value is why the prices are going up and why gold seems inflated and why you couldn't peg it to the dollar.
And a rising tide rises all boats. That's why the dollar and silver and copper.
Okay, here. Okay, so somebody who's been in the banking world and understands this and done this at a high level. Here's the other thing: when the Fed raises the rate and you squeeze the lending, what happens is all of the big billion-dollar corporations that are leveraging assets and debt, once they can't lend against and get tax-free money because the Fed keeps raising the rate, that is an impossible scenario. take away the ESB and G and all the different credit scores and all this bullshit. If you continue to squeeze and take away the bullshit, the woke bullshit too. If you continue to raise the rate and squeeze as the dollar collapses, gold maintains steady, but oil becomes this huge fucking problem, then you tack on the climate fucking attack. That is the entire fucking powder keg and the perfect storm in which they are collapsing the dollar. Now currency manipulation is not a new thing. When you look at George Soros and what he's done over the decades and how many fucking countries he's collapsed, including what he did with the fucking euro in the 90s. You go beyond Soros and you go beyond this mafia and how they operate and what the playbook is. It's the same fucking thing. It's just on a grander scale. And that's why, like, when Duppy and I do a show on, like, the high table, like, people are, like, obsessed with, like, BlackRock and Vanguard and Soros. These are low-level players.
Right.
These are operators. These are companies and shell corporations. These are not the people that are actually making the decisions.
Belushi, I know
I'll show you the connection to BlackRock.
You and I first met, we had these conversations. And I don't think these conversations are ready for the public consumption yet on D. Ross's show.
Coming soon, though, don't you think?
Ross agrees with me, but I know Belushi and I had these conversations offline a lot of times. But are these ready for public consumption?
Well, that ties into what I was going to say about we were all squeamish about the Uma Abedin scene, right? We all talked about how we like to look at data, and we've been trying to keep our eyeballs clean. And I know that sounds like two different topics, but I'm going to tie what we were just talking about with that. I feel like we're all 6, 8, sometimes more years battle hardened, and we may feel not ready, but we're going to be ready when the times come, and I think it's soon.
Well, I know we're ready than most people, or more ready, because
we're going to have to explain this. Yeah,
we've had years to get used to all of this shit. They're going to have days. It's going to be crammed into a small amount of time, and I couldn't imagine getting all of that dumped on me in a matter of days versus the years that I've had to digest it all. You know, I feel sorry for him, to be honest with you.
I'm sorry, Belushi, but you're spewing out like all this stuff way too early for consumption.
The time will take care of itself, Norm. I hear you.
I know.
And you're hitting a point I want to make earlier.
I'm not worried about it landing like that, Norm. Like, I feel like if you speak truth into existence, and this reverberation of all the collective people here in this chat on Foxhole and all the things I do on my channel and other channels and guest spots, this all makes a difference and all reverberates out. The ripples are just slower than we might expect, but I don't think it's for naught.
I pay attention to the human resonance.
I agree with you, but
you guys are in agreement.
I pay attention to the human resonance. Maybe not every day, but every now and then I'll check in on it. And you have a lot of areas where it's just nothing but white, which means the frequency is high as shit. You know what I mean? Like, in a good way. You know what I mean?
But that sounds funny coming from Black Yoda. But.
Right. So one of the things I like to listen to a dude named Ken Wheeler who tries to not get too political, but he talks about how nature has really good ability to do pressure mediation and that everything is dielectric and some other stuff and blah, blah, blah. This tipping point will happen, and it'll be mediated by the fabric of the cosmos, and we'll be little parts of it, and it'll slip over and it'll flip, and it will be fast, Yoda. You're right. But it's
when you think about just 10 years ago compared to now, not only have we woken up, but a lot more people are waking up every day.
Right.
Not only that, Yoda, it is a wildly different world, man.
It really is.
I'll tell you guys, I traveled the globe before COVID, and when I got back, and I moved from Los Angeles up here back to the Midwest, up to the north to Minneapolis, just in time for the George Floyd riots, 15 blocks from my fucking house. I will tell you, when I got back after living very humbly in third world countries, like very humbly, to the point where you need to worry about where you're getting your daily water from, to coming back to Los Angeles. And this is just before the electric scooters came out. And like watching the depravity and the absolute lunacy and the movie Wall-E happening in real time in front of my face, like fat people on scooters crashing into each other, like floating around in an ambiguous existence. Literally the most sinful fucking Peter Pan syndrome place on the planet, Disneyland, aka California. I couldn't have gotten out of there fast enough. And then my ascension back into reality, as I started to grasp what was happening, and then jumped in, back into conspiracy stuff. But like, because I've been doing this since '99, jumping back whole feet in and actually getting really into the political realm, starting a channel on Foxhole, getting really into this is I will tell you that it was all form and function. It was all a result of me literally seeing through the veil. And then it gives me pause, and it allows me to have patience and sympathy with the people that can't see through it and that are trying to come to it, even though they don't know that it's happening to them, and even though they don't know they're there yet. People are fucking uncomfortable, and they are seeing things that they can't explain, and it is going to continue to cause division within the own family unit, because the women, unfortunately, are the ones that are like, no, I have a relationship with our doctor. He knows the schedule with our kids. You know what I'm saying? The schools are this teacher, his grades, that system is still very, very deeply rooted and embedded in especially the women in this country's minds. And when you spend time outside of this country, and when you live in a home that's generational with the grandparents and the sons, and the sons only bring in the daughters, and the daughters go away, they go live with the other sons, and that's how it works in the community. It actually works in concert so beautifully, even though it's very poor and it's very different from what we understand. Like, I have two brothers and a sister, and I come from good stock, and I come from a very well-off family, because a lot of ways, and I'm not going to get into who my family is, but what we've done and what we pride ourselves on doing, and we're not even good at it at the end of the day, when I compare myself to other experiences around the world. We don't all live in a home. We should all be living in a giant mansion together. Mm-hmm. And we should all have a fucking garage full of cars that we all share. Like, because none of us are not well off. But we're not pooling our money.
You better not be selling communal showers.
Here's the problem with the American culture is we all view that as like a communistic, like, you know what I mean? Like, oh, what? We don't do that. We separate from our parents, and we start our own thing, and we go in our own direction. That's not how the rest of the world lives. And I don't actually think that's how we should be living. Because it takes you away from the family. It takes you away from God. It takes you away from the approval of everything that meets and should hold true to entering into a family, and then providing something of value for that family unit. That is lost. That is gone.
I've thought about that a lot, Belushi, and you're right. I mean, your parents raise you, and then you get to a point where you have your own family, and you should bring those parents in, to watch the kids while you go to work. Let them teach them, some old school stuff instead of playing video games.
The criteria for like finding a mate is that your mate, your woman, your wife, or whoever you make her, you should be providing for her, but you should also have something to fall back on, so that you can still be providing and be a man, and have her family around you, and have everyone, all the aunts and cousins and uncle. Like, when I grew up, dude, I grew up around 1 million cousins. Like, I was running around naked without a diaper in the backyard with like 600 cousins. Like, my son right now, my 4-year-old, my older boys are 17, 18. They're going to be 19 and 18 this year. Like, my youngest son, 4, he's here alone with me.
Yeah.
And he has his mother's family, but there's no kids. He's the only kid. And I'm trying to navigate this fucked up school system and all this shit for him. So how do I fucking huddle around him? He's sleeping right now. How do I huddle around him and try to recreate my childhood for him? It's not available. It's not available.
I got the same problem, Belushi, almost identical.
It's wild, dude.
Yeah.
You know, earlier I was talking about my older cousin and how we were raised like brothers. Because my grandparents on my father's side, they had 10 kids, 2 boys and then 8 girls back to back.
Yeah, my mom's one of 8.
And my grandfather always wanted that third son. So when my father had me, that was in New Mexico. And my grandparents were like, we're taking him. And they had one of my aunts fly out to New Mexico and took me to Michigan to stay with my grandparents. So in a sense, I wasn't raised like a grandson. I was raised like the 11th child.
Right.
If that makes sense.
It does. And you know what, Yoda, and some people who know my story, when my first wife, my God rest her soul, Amber, died, and my sons were 9 and 7, and I was working and traveling from LA to New York and doing all the crazy agency business shit I was doing. Their family reached out and was like, well, let them stay here. The grandparents took them in. Right. And then it turned into a whole thing that it snowballed into something bad. But that is normally a good thing. And that should be the approach. I had faith in that, trust in that, and that backfired on me as well. And that's what I mean by the hierarchy of the American system is broken, bro. Mm-hmm. And it has been for a long fucking time.
Well, we're the land of hyper individualism. We've got a strong Protestant,
which is a detriment, bro.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got we got a lot of standalone Baptist churches, for example. Not against that per se, but it's like you're hyper shattered if you're down to you have no denomination. You can just do your own thing.
You know, back home in Michigan when I was a kid, everybody knew everybody. People actually talked to each other.
Yeah. Bro, if I wanted to play with my friend, I went and banged on his parents' door and was like, "Can Henry come play?" And they're like, "Yeah." Right. That was it, bro. There's no phones. Yeah. Like dude, like if you did have, you called the rotary phone and you were like, "Yo," and that's how you got dates too, bro.
And you know, nowadays you go to the grocery store,
Tinder and swiping and fucking Instagram whores and it's ridiculous.
You go to the grocery store now, nobody talks to anybody. Sometimes I'll bring up conversations with complete strangers and they're shocked. It's like they don't even know how to use words anymore.
They don't know how to be humans anymore, man.
Right.
COVID fucked everybody up real bad.
That was crazy.
Real fucking bad. And I want to continue to tell people this because what COVID did psychologically to our population and the world population is in a lot of ways irreversible, dude.
It never affected me.
Listen to me. Listen, I'll give you a case in point. The guy you see in the fucking Uber driving the car, the poor immigrant who's working his ass off here wearing a mask with the windows up.
Yeah.
Dude, I hated seeing that shit. I'd be leaving Honeywell.
No, it's still happening. That's the point of me.
Yeah, I've seen it. I've seen it. Like, I'd be leaving Honeywell, and the freeway is like just a few blocks away from Honeywell. And I would see people with a mask on in the car by themselves. And Bernie and I were going somewhere just recently. For the life of me, I can't remember where we were going. Oh, I think we were going to my cousin's. And a car drove past us. And they're wearing a mask still. And I'm like, and this was just like a week or two ago, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I never bought into the COVID thing because me and a lot of other truthers were on the fat part of that ass with trying to get the right information. But anytime we posted anything, we'd get censored. You know?
So I spent 3 days in Long Island and Manhattan and Queens 10 days ago.
Oh, nice.
And I think I skipped the 4 years that New York was insane. I never saw it during the scam-shamdemic. I could sense that they were kind of coming. You know the scene in Do the Right Thing where they're picking up the pieces after the pizza joint was wrecked? It felt like that.
I haven't seen that movie in forever.
It's like the end of a Pink Floyd The Wall or something. They're coming out. The bricks are being picked up. The cleanup crew is getting started, and you're just going to go back, go to your next phase, do your next thing. The phoenix is going to rise from the ashes. I felt like that was happening. And what's nice about Long Island is it's a slice of America. I've spent a large part of 15 years there and then visited ever since. Not living there, but just going there every week or two, just weekending.
Real quick, I got to switch phones because mine is about to die.
Right on.
So I'm going to come back in on Bernie's phone.
Cool.
I will be right back, people.
Right on. So what I'm thinking is the mark is there, Belushi. It's a permanent issue. But New Yorkers, for example, man, are they resilient. They were in way better shape than I thought they would be.
Yeah. I'm going to jump over to my computer because I actually want to talk about this in a deeper level, unless you want to end the show, G. Ross.
Let's do a round at the computer.
Okay.
If you're up for it, yeah.
I'm at the computer. I'm just going to switch over. I'll be right back.
Right on. I can't end on how awesome New Yorkers are without finishing that thought.
I'm glad that you think highly of how they responded to all this, because I'm not very proud of my state.
Well, they panicked. I watched them do it just from social media and everything, but they had very little choice. They were being told what to do. They were under lockdown and they got through it. But man, they seem like humans. I just hung out with them for 72 hours. Talked to an ice cream salesman. 6 months selling ice cream.
Belushi just said, "Can you drop again?" But I'm not sure what he meant by that.
He means this. Right. Waco, Ruby Ridge, 9/11, Kaczynski. Yep. The Unabomber, everything. Yoda.
What's up, people?
Hey, your phone sounds pretty good. Oh, it's echoing a little.
No, I know Due Diligence uses Restream.
Yeah.
It was his birthday Tuesday or yesterday. And I had to use Bernie's phone and it was making some kind of echo. So let me know if it does that with you.
It is.
It is?
Well, I heard it once.
Yeah, I did too, but yeah, I'm hearing it now when I talk.
All right, let me
It's that weird noise from that Star Trek episode.
Right. What you can do, Yoda, if you have the energy, is you can mute when you're not talking.
Okay.
Where'd Norm go?
I sent him a DM.
Check.
We got you.
I hate Jitsi so much.
I know.
All right.
So when you were switching over, Duppy said something about what I had said about the New Yorkers. I think they went through hell, and I don't know how to judge their response because I think they got put upon, and I don't know that I would have done better. I'm talking about their reaction now. I failed them. I didn't even go visit them during the scamdemic. I wouldn't do it.
Hey, real quick, which one is better, Jitsi or Restream?
Long story for right now. Restream gives me a heartache.
Just go to Jitsi.
Just for now.
I'll say this just about New York and Long Island. God, I always do this, and I hate to be like aloof with people because I try not to dox my family as much as possible. But my grandfather My grandfather was born in England. My father was born in Brazil. My grandfather was born in England, went to Oxford. Okay. He worked with, in the 60s, a guy named E.P. Taylor. Him and E.P. Taylor, he's a very, if you look up E.P. Taylor, he's a very famous Canadian developer. They developed the Bahamas together, Life for Key. Okay, we had the third house built on that part of the island. We built a country club. We developed the entire fucking part of the island. Okay, that whole culmination of that development and all those connections and ties and everything that parlays to sort of like present day and what goes on in the islands, in terms of like the business practices and the things that my father has instilled in me and that he was seeing in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. Has changed quite a bit. So the power structure at the top has shifted. And so, like, for example, like during COVID and then post COVID, like we have a house in the Hamptons that we're trying to get rid of right now in Long Island. Like we grew up going to Long Island. So like, as you're seeing like all these people exodus from New York and to Florida, those people and the mindset of those people, G. Ross, is those people that are left, they literally are, and I hate to say this, they're brainwashed in that, just like in Chicago. I'm from Chicago. Like Chicago pride, New York pride, like strong. Like we don't leave our neighborhoods. We don't leave our shit. Nothing can fucking stop us. So
we don't need no cops.
Yeah. We don't need no, you know what I mean? Like that's what you're experiencing. That's what you're seeing from these people.
I completely agree. But when I sit for hours on a front stoop right in the middle, Comac, Long Island, and I can hear the grass in a way that I can't hear in Dallas, Texas. There's something about that.
By the way,
place.
I was born in Dallas.
Nice. Listen, I love Dallas. I obviously chose to live here.
My parents fell in love there.
Yeah,
I'm their love child, bro.
But something about Long Island, and like I said, you know what I'm saying.
I know exactly what you're saying.
I don't blame them.
That's why I had to give the little precursor of my family history to.
Yeah.
To say, I feel you, bro.
Yeah. Well, and I was the outsider who arrived, and they took care of me. Every time I came out, sausage and peppers, eggplant parmesan, just all the pizza, Chinese food, better than you can get in Texas. And they took me in. I became family. I was instantly family, and I just fell in love. And after 15 years, I moved back, and we go see them. Other than the scamdemic, we go there once or twice a year ever since we moved back. And I don't know. I felt like time just picked right back up, like old friends getting back together.
Good. That's fantastic. We need that. We need that. We need that repairing of the timeline, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like we jumped. We went on a weird shark, and then he jumped us, and then anyone who didn't fall off and drown in the sea and rode the shark somehow fucking reset it at the end of the level, and we're back at the same timeline start again.
Just like the Thanos movies.
100%. And I often, actually, I'm so glad you brought that up. I often talk about I haven't talked about it in a while. My theory that I was working on for a long time, G. Ross, was that we're in an endless looping war, and I was getting really deep into the Trump time travel stuff with Barron and the books and the Tesla stuff and his Uncle John and the patents and everything. All that stuff is very meaningful, right? So I started to theorize, are we endlessly fighting in a loop? Because it seems like we change something, they change something. We change something, they change something. And we're in this perpetual fucktard fucking spin cycle at the laundromat, and we all want to get off the ride because we're getting nauseous.
How do you explain those books?
I would explain them with theory and conspiracy. I wouldn't explain them with
science.
Matter of science.
She blinded me with science.
And as a scientist, I can't touch those books either.
No.
I haven't read them, but I know some of the content. I mean, even the building that he owns has the address. Like, how do you explain those books?
Right.
And
The only thing that I've been tempted to wonder about is, did those books really exist before 4 years ago?
Are they a Shroud of Turin type?
That even lends to the fucking time travel theory more.
but those sound like books I would have had when I was a kid. By the way, I was obsessed with time travel when I was a kid. I had the Time Machine. I had all those freaking books, and then I didn't hear about those books until
I'd never heard of those books until I woke up to all this stuff. But
exactly,
I gotta say that the name Ingersoll Lockwood, for some reason, sounds like a name I've heard before earlier than that, but I can't put it.
100, bro. That and that is okay. We get you know what that instantly triggered a thought in my mind: the Akashi record, which is a whole other podcast. But like that, like okay, so I'll tell you guys this: ever since I was a young child, I bucked against authority and systems. And my parents put me in massive therapy. They didn't understand why I was angry. And then later, as my mom awoken and I started to be able to like articulate my childhood and why I felt the way I did, and then be able to like pair it with the things that she was discovering. And then as we reconciled later in life as adults, and I came through this Q movement with her, it was like,
holy crap,
dude, so epic.
Yeah.
So epic. And she was like, I would have done so much things different with you guys. I wouldn't have given you certain vaccines and this and that and the other. And she had a lot of guilt because we grew up Catholic. She had a lot of guilt. And like, and not only that, just us being able to, and I'm with my own kids, even circumcising my kids, even being circumcised, that one fucked me up. She brought me the circumcision dig, and she goes, I know this is going to hurt you, but I need you to look at it. And I cried for a day.
That fucked me up too. By the way, Belushi.
Yeah,
when,
bad.
When that was explained
I have three boys who I castrated all of them.
Yeah,
that needs to be explained
because I didn't want them to be weird in the locker room. I'm like,
here.
you don't have an uncut dick. The other guys in the locker room are going to make fun of you. You're going to like. I was like, no, you know what I mean? Because I was cut.
I did the same.
Yeah, it's a wild thing as a parent.
Hey guys, Froggy's here.
Hey Froggy, and as a parent, and here's the thing that my youngest brother, he's just wise beyond his years. He said, your parents are people, and I always say this to people too. When do you become an adult is when you realize that your parents are people. And they did everything they possibly fucking could for you. And then they become not your equal, your superior, but like there's a respected element of like, you treat them as you would a peer in a way. With like a boss. You treat him like a boss, like in like a business situation. I guess I can equate it to that. Like you reach a level where you turn and you go, and our society is so flossed and fucked right now with like, no, your parent is not going to let you chop your dick off because your weird woke teacher told you to. You know what I mean? So like we're so far beyond village tactics.
This is so cool. I want to share an episode.
Okay, let oh come on.
Hi.
I haven't heard from her for a while, so.
But Belushi, I agree with what you're saying.
Yeah, man.
I think
go ahead,
this
Anka.
is a huge turning point, and I'm loving what I'm seeing because, like,
yeah,
I am in like vicinity of like New York City and like all the bullshit that's going on here. So, and most of my time I spend around people that are somewhat awake. So, this week I was in a Uber, and the driver happened to be a Dominican Republic born Democrat. Like he was a Democrat there in some type of political campaigns and whatever.
Right. So
and now that he's here,
his loyalty
also
is transferred.
Democrat.
Yeah.
Listen to this. As we're driving, as he's driving and I'm just like sitting there, I decided to like play dumb and ask him questions because I wanted to know what a Democrat would really, really think. and say about stuff what's going on right now. And I'm like, I started off like easy, blah blah blah, like what's going on?
Well,
How do you love
Have you seen the new
America?
Barbie movie?
Yeah, no.
there's a
And so, okay, so hold on.
Dominican.
Let me get to my point. Hold up. And so, what happened was, he's telling me he was like Democrat to the bones, and what pisses him off or he's confused is the two things. He loves the Democrat Party, but he's absolutely against the children, the sexual, pedo related topics, and the LGBT, and all the stuff that has to do with gender, blah blah blah, with the children. And so, to him, he might not see like Trump is like the best thing on earth. He doesn't see that, but he does see what Trump is doing. And he cannot not agree with it because he sees what Biden and all of them are doing and how hard they're pushing this line. So there is such a major shift, and it's so polarizing. They don't know what to do. He's still sitting there and he's contemplating. He's saying, like, there is no way we cannot vote for Biden. We need a better Democrat. This is not working out.
Vocabulary is different because in vocabulary, Democrat sounds great because Democrat means it does mean everybody gets their say, right? In vocabulary. And in vocabulary, libertarian sounds great because it means everybody's free. And Republican sounds great, but in vocabulary, they're choosing their own vocabulary.
No, we know that, but the Democrats are not feeling all the love from the Democrats because they see all the bullshit that they're doing on purpose.
I'll say
They're
this.
seeing it now. It's so blatant, and they cannot agree. Like
So
people,
fucking blatant, dude.
like Asian people, Dominican, like
agreed.
Spanish people, whatever. They're all family oriented. This to them, this LGBT stuff with the gender bender bullshit, they cannot jump on this train. Whatever you do, like even if the economy is the best, they're never gonna sign up to this.
Right.
But like I said, vocabulary and everything else, because it's all authoritarian and Belushi, I hate your shirt.
But can I just finish one little point? So I asked him what would be, in his opinion, a best candidate for a Democrat Party. And I was mind blown. He's like, I don't really know. Like, it's confusing. I said, well, how do you feel about Michelle Obama? Just to see what he would say, right? And he got so excited. Like, I saw a little glimmer of hope for him. And then I was like, looked at my mom and I was like, should I tell him that Michelle might have a big schlong?
Big Mike Chef saw
and below his mind.
He brings all the boys to the yard, and I'm jealous.
You should. Everybody should carry
when
the
he gets
Ellen
hard.
show.
I'm jealous. When he
The
gets hard, I'm
my
jealous.
milkshake. Yeah.
Everybody should carry the Ellen show video on their phone to show people.
Yes.
Wait, hold on. I have two questions. Number one is for Norm. Are you wearing a Heartbeat shirt?
What?
You said you like my shirt. You didn't even know what shirt I'm wearing.
Well,
Are you wearing a Heartbeat? Oh, you're just wearing a tank top. Yeah. This
No,
is
I'm
you
just-
produced a documentary about vibrational frequencies and energies
no,
and how it heals.
I didn't see that.
If you guys want to check that out, Heartbeat, he's on TED Talks. This is my homeboy, fucking Mikey B.
Nice.
So, anyways, I just want to respond to Ankavanka real quick. That is that's positive track, Ankavanka. I think number one, number two, you are going to see this. Here's my biggest concern, and I'm going to say this before I say my response to your kind of statement there, which is I'm shifting to a place not to be like I'm going to be the cradle for all the lefties, the land, and I'm going to coddle them. No, like I think that as a society and as a collective, as as we ascend to a higher way of being as human beings and being compassionate with each other, we have to get away from the divisional stuff, because like we still celebrate, oh, I just fucking owned a fucking libtard on fucking Twitter, bro. And then they come to Foxhole and they're like, yeah. And we're like, yeah. And we're like, yeah, you own a libtard. It's like, no. We should be like, hey, libtard, do you want to come to hear us talk? Like, do you want to, you know what I mean? Like, what are your concerns? Like, why are you really, and like, so that you have that like mainstream opposition with like MAGA Inc. and Con Inc. with like, you know, God, I can't stand Ben Shapiro, but you have like what's his name? The college guy, the young kid.
Charlie
I
Kirk.
also can't stand Charlie Kirk. But they are doing good work, right? Like they're going out there, they're doing it, but they're doing it for not necessarily the right reasons, but they're doing it, right? They're getting the message out there. And so having a place for human, I'm just going to say this and I'll shut up. Having a place for humanity to land, I think, is going to be the most important thing in our future.
I'll say this much. None of us could have did as good of a job as Biden when it comes to small people.
Here's the thing, man. Here's the thing, though. People have to understand this, and what I just said, and I want to hear on Kavanka's response, is Trump always trumpeted that. Every single rally, every single press conference, he always addresses the other side in a very delicate and gentle and loving way.
Except when he's talking about...
unless he's talking about who's making fun of him. He talks about the lizards and the demons very specifically, but I'm talking about the people.
I love his stories about the men and women's sports. Those are my favorite. but I agree.
Something strange. Yoda has not said anything in a while.
He looks sad to me. What's wrong with you?
Oh, no, I made a comment about Biden just now.
Yeah. I just wanted to make sure you got the full comment out.
Make Belushi come back. I have one question and one observation to drop on him on something we were talking about like 10 minutes ago.
I'm here.
All right, first off,
I just don't like how I look right now.
You look fine.
We like your baby blues.
I'm not surprised you have blue eyes.
Because he's always wearing shades.
Oh, that's true.
Shady motherfucker.
So when you're talking about circumcision earlier,
yeah,
did you know that was an Egyptian custom first?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Number two, when you talked about being a rebel growing up,
I didn't until I looked into it. I should say, Duffy. Like that's what broke my heart. Like when I understood what it meant beyond the Judaism and all that. Like it destroyed me. It destroyed me. I was like, I destroyed my son's penis.
What did they do?
All of my son's penises and my penis was destroyed. My own mother, that was the whole story I was trying to tell of her own reconciliation of coming to terms with she's like, had I known, you know what I mean? Okay. Anyway, second question.
What did they do with the foreskin when they cut it off?
Huh?
What did they do with the foreskin after they cut it off?
They make facial cream out of it.
They give it to fucking Sandra Bullock and she looks young forever. All right, go ahead.
All right. So you're saying when you were young, you were a rebel and all that. And
beyond, bro.
I
was actually a criminal.
I was too, in terms of getting in trouble in school all the time because I was bored.
Yeah, and I was bored as fuck. I should have graduated high school freshman year, dude.
Were you diagnosed hyperactive or ADHD?
Yeah, but I was self-medicating and snorting Adderall off. We had a Adderall and Ritalin. We had a couple bathrooms at our high school where we etched into above the metal tray that goes above the little paper, the toilet paper dispenser, and we put Crush Hizzo here. We put an arrow down, and that's where we would always do it. Or we would go make I would make mushroom casseroles and like quiches and home. I took the most bullshit classes. I should have been out of high school after sophomore year. Junior and senior year, I had already gotten my credits. I was cruising to the point where I was traveling the country, chasing vans, doing crazy shit. But dude, yeah, they said that I couldn't pay attention to the point where a couple kids in my crew got removed from the high school. They're some of the smartest people I know. One of my buddies Well, one of them went on to work in D.C. and be a politician. The other one is now growing some of the biggest weed farms in America. Like, these are some of the smartest people I've ever met. And because they couldn't pay attention, they were literally like taken out of school and put in the problem kid classes, put in the problem kid and completely removed from all sort of socializing in high school, like all the things that go into high school, right? And high school is brutal, man.
Yeah.
Like, and this is the thing, like, having had two kids who just went through high school and like remembering my own experience and how they went through it with COVID. Like, I was an athlete. Like, and my oldest son wrestles too in high school, and like he couldn't wrestle. Dude, my kids got the vax. They wanted it. Like, I fought in court against them getting the vaxes. They wanted it just to fucking fit in and be with their friends and fucking do the shit and do their sports, man. This is how bad it's gotten, dude. It makes me want to cry. Like, this is how bad it is. This is real shit, man. This is not philosophy and theory and fucking bullshit. People are fucking dying, including in my family, and this shit is fucking real, dude. It's not a joke.
Right.
It's not a fucking joke out here.
20 or something. Earlier today, I had to go to the doctor's, and because my prescriptions ran out, I had to go do a physical to renew the prescriptions for metformin and lisinopril. So I'm down there. Doctor comes in, and she's checking my heart rate and stuff, blood pressure. And then she brings up the fact that she wants to do blood work. And I was like, look, there is no way in hell you're touching me with a needle. At this point, with everything I've learned about COVID and these vaxes, I don't trust shit piercing my skin. And we had a debate about that. And eventually she was like, look, I'll give you a prescription for 1 month with one refill, but you're going to have to find another doctor, because if you won't do the blood work so we can do our work, because we need to know if your kidneys are good and all these other factors. Eventually, I talked her into getting me the prescription. And I was like, look, you just got to respect the fact that I have a fear about this shit.
But you let them give you the blood work. Look up what they give you. And most likely for the heart, it's beta blockers. And you can look up some natural.
Oh, I have. And I'm working on it. No, I have. That has a product that's supposed to.
You can look up some non-pharmaceutical stuff to get you that. My doctor actually told me, why aren't you taking the prescription I gave you? And I told him I was like taking natural stuff. And then he took my blood work and he was like going, okay, well, you're good. He reluctantly told me. Yeah, he was absolutely like reluctantly telling me that, okay, you don't need to take that stuff anymore. But I have a regimen of vitamins I take because I looked it up, because they're giving you beta blockers or whatever that shit is.
Wait,
a pharmaceutical.
What are you taking meds for?
I don't take meds. I never take pharmaceuticals. I told my doctor this too. I will not take pharmaceuticals. I will take natural stuff.
Yep.
But my heart is actually has a problem.
Oh.
And I take actually I used to go to a place called Full Life.
Cut down on the booze, Norm. Cut down on the booze, brother. Cut down on the booze.
Well, yeah, that's what they keep on telling me too. Yeah, he keeps on telling me that too. But
can I please bring a correction to something that was said earlier? To put it on the record.
Bring it.
This is religious reading kind of show, right?
Yes.
That's what you start with here. And
Yes.
like tradition and law are important. And so I wanted to bring the aspect of the Jewish circumcision.
Yes, please.
I don't know about, like, I know what Duffy said about the Egyptian influence and stuff like that. I get that part. But according to the Jewish law and tradition, and not so much the law, but it kind of works hand in hand. And let me say this, that it's not dictated by law, but by the Jewish law. But many people who perform these, who are rabbis who perform this, they're called moels, who perform the circumcision.
Moil.
Yeah, they request that the baby's parents bury the foreskin because, according to the Jewish law and tradition, the human flesh is very sacred in Judaism, and it is not thrown into any trash or anything like that. You're supposed to pretend like as if you're burying somebody alive. I mean, not alive, but somebody.
I am aware of
dead.
that, and you are a Jew, right?
Yes, and
Yes.
and it's to the point. It is so strict. Like, you're not supposed to get any tattoos. You're not supposed to, even if you cut your nails, you're supposed to like almost
I know about that too. Yeah.
take care of that, all throwing it in,
Dispose of it
whatever.
properly. Yeah,
Right.
yeah, because spirits
So,
can inhabit it. Yeah. I'm aware.
yeah,
of it.
because it says, like, rather than any detached human flesh is buried, ashes to ashes, dust to dust. And that is from Genesis 18:27 and Job 30:19. So
Right.
I think, like, with the Jewish tradition, the real Jewish, I'm not talking about the Ruskin type of Jewish. I'm talking about the Orthodox traditional people who are just as good and good-hearted like myself. They are supposed to follow these type of
Yeah, and their faith, of course, and there's no question in my mind about that, Anka Vanka, and there's no question about that in any religious faith. In terms of my exploration of my own personal pursuit through all faiths, none of the patrons, the partitioners, or the people that are necessarily in the local community participating in a church-like setting is a bad thing. Having tradition is not a bad thing. And of course, the respect for even the fingernails. When you go Old Testament, you go into deep in the Torah, you understand these things. My point is, and beyond those things are such a respected is we live in a world of monsters and corrupt demons that are just like they have with abortion and organ harvesting and everything else. The whole thing that's happened with circumcision and the ritualistic amount of pain being firstborn and having that surgery done before you can even comprehend anything, to put it in the most pleasure zone of how you recreate God's creation. There's a sacrificial thing that's happening there, and the more I looked into circumcision, the more I'm like, it disgusted me that it was done to me and that I did it to my own boys. That was my only point about the whole thing.
I hear you. I just find it necessary to bring up these topics so that people are not like seeing the whole Judaism as a one big, oh my God, these
no, it's all religions, hon. It's all religions.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know where she wanted this to go because we've talked about this. What we're faced with is not an ethnic or nationalistic war or conflict. It is a class war. A class
100%. 100%. We've been talking about
these elites, the ones that make facial cream from foreskins and shit like that. They are not religious. Just think about Soros, and they are nothing like the rest of us.
Well, when you got
they say they're atheists. Sorry. Let me just put one line in. They're atheists because they don't worship any god. They worship themselves.
Right.
When you guys brought up, you're supposed to dispose of the fingernails in a certain way. Is there any rules about like when you cut your hair?
Ooh, interesting
yeah,
question.
there are different. Okay, so I'm not exactly sure for sure, but like boys don't cut the boys'
You're supposed
hair
to keep your
until
hair
they're
long.
three, until
Yeah.
they're 3 years old.
Right.
And
Which,
then
which
there
we
is
did
a
with our son.
special ceremony for that and whatnot. So there are certainly different kind of processes.
And it depends regionally in the world also as well. I'll just tag in on this with what Ankavanka's saying because she's absolutely correct. And we, with my son, we didn't cut his hair until his third birthday. But also, there are parts of the world and religions and tribes and villages that very much firmly believe in never cutting the hair for a male and always covering the hair for a female.
Think
and if you go, yeah,
think
go ahead.
Samson, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But
So
also, I got another one for you. You know
Wait,
what?
real quick about the hair before you move off the hair. The two
I was
best
still
hairs
on
in the
it.
world. Oh, okay.
Do you get Belushi? Do you remember what the Merovingian kings were known for? Their long
luscious
hair.
locks, baby.
Yep.
Wait, I just was about to get my hair out. I got to comb it. Hold on.
They didn't have buns back then.
Well, I did come
Fuck
across.
you.
The
It gets
man
hot,
bun.
dude. I put it up once in a while. You
The
fucking
man
assholes.
bun.
We got to say hi to the Texan. But Black Yoda, let me squeeze in
Yeah.
my hair thing real quick. The two best hairs in the world. The 3-year-old who's never had his hair cut and Major League Baseball pitchers. Go Black Yoda.
And one more thing, the Jewish women, if once they become married, they're not allowed to show their own hair to other men who are not their husbands. That's how modest they're supposed to be. That's why most of them wear a wig.
They do?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Oh yeah. No, it's a big business in Crown Heights, Borough Park, and other like Lakewood and whatnot.
I have come across some material that talks about the hair being something like an antenna.
Oh yeah, it's got to be.
Supposed to help you with your frequencies and energy and shit. Like the
It's
long.
right there. I don't have any left. Oh man.
What is the merkin all about then?
You
What's
gotta
that?
get a Mifi, a Wi-Fi for your hair. Giro.
At least I got some facial hair. The Texan, what is up?
What's happening, Captain?
Hey,
good to
Hoss.
see you.
Hoss.
Hey, yeah, forgive me. One thing, Foxhole's running pretty far behind. I'm trying to keep up with y'all's conversation.
It's been like
there
that
in the
all
chat.
day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is
So
Texan
anyway.
here or
Just
is
jump
he
in.
here in the chat or no?
Yeah, he's here.
Yeah, I'm right here.
All right. Howdy,
So-
man.
So anyway, I wasn't even going to join, but I was really enjoying the panel and the conversation tonight. I'm like I said, I'm shuffling through the Texas sand, but my head's in Mississippi, man, with this medication. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So
a little ZZ Top reference.
yeah, brother. Yeah.
Hey, Sutton, how did the dentist thing work out for you?
The dentist?
Yeah.
Oh, it was fine. I got 3 teeth extracted and got it taken care of, and it was pretty bad shape there for about 11 days. But yeah, I'm good. I'm good on that. And now I'm just recovering from a hernia surgery I had on Monday.
Oh, damn, man.
So, but anyway, enough about me.
Somebody else that has a hernia, and I can't remember who it is now.
Krusty had one recently.
Zoe just went through it a couple 3 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, something like that. So, you're gonna have to help me out here, G Ross. Like I said, I'm fuzzy in the head right now.
Yeah, gotcha.
We had a conversation about this a while back about the circumcision thing. I guess the only thing that bothers me is nobody asked my permission. You know,
Right.
but besides that, it doesn't bother me, man. It's a hygiene thing, you know. I mean,
I used to think that too, though, Texan.
Well, wait a minute. Let me finish.
Yeah.
So, G Ross, remember we were talking about it, and what was it? Vitamin K, or on the 8th day, or what was that?
Yeah, you're supposed to do it on the 8th day because that's the optimal day for like the blood clotting.
That's when we did it.
Yeah.
Yeah, vitamin.
It's
K,
all
right?
very ritualistic, man.
It is.
But the Bible
Drink
was
the Kool-Aid, man.
But scientifically and biologically, the Bible was right to do that on the 8th day. They've proven it, you know, with modern science that is when the human body's vitamin K is at its highest.
You're
peak.
not supposed to. You're not supposed to. And I got tattoos. Like you're not supposed to fuck with God's design. That I know.
That is right.
And cutting off the foreskin is something I never even thought about because it was done to me and all my brothers and every kid I knew in the locker rooms, like I said. And I was like, I don't want my kid to be uncut, but all the Europeans, they're all uncut. All the Eastern Europeans, they're all uncut. They don't cut their kids.
Right.
Only in America do we do this.
And look,
it's a very strange thing.
Look at their
we are
hygiene.
inflicting trauma in the God center of a fucking infant.
But there's hygiene.
No, there's no hygiene. It actually self-cleans. The foreskin rolling over, you get more pleasure. There's more going on. I looked way into it, dude. I did a deep dick dive on this shit. All right, and I'm pissed that I'm cut, and I'm pissed I cut my boys, and you're not going to change my mind. So say
I've only known one guy in my life that ever got a yeast infection, and that was in high school or junior high school when we played football, and he was uncut. And he got a yeast infection.
Yeah, because you dirty fucks. We all played sports in high school. Yeah. Guess what we did? Guess what we did on the wrestling team? We showered together, and we would hold you down and shave your head if you missed a shower with the team because you could bring wingworm, you could bring fucking crabs, or whatever the fuck you get on a mat from another high school. We would literally fucking hold you down and shave your head. You can't get away with that shit anymore in high school. But like, dude, you showered as a team like jail. Because of that kind of shit.
You know, speaking of which, the Egyptians, you know, they shaved their heads and stuff. Even the women did. For hygiene.
Yes.
Because
all those statues you see where they have the luxurious braided huge head of hair. That was with.
Right.
Well,
it was a hygiene thing. That's that's what I'm getting at. They had real bad fleas and ticks and stuff in the desert and out there and
Texan, by the way, you're a black hole if you're on your phone. I don't know your camera.
No, I'm on my computer, dude. I don't want to be on camera tonight.
Just kill your camera then, so it's not a black hole.
No, I just got the cover on the camera.
Oh, okay. All you got to do is hit the little camera button, brother.
Yeah, it's all cool.
You just reminded me of something that I came across about a week or two ago. So one of the popes back in the day, and I'm talking like bubonic plague or black plague or black death, whatever you call it. So at one point in time, they demonized cats. And so people were just, whenever they saw a cat, they would just murk it, you know? And then you have the black plague. And because they murked so many cats, you had this overgrowth of rodents.
Interesting.
I did not know that they demonized.
That.
That was new to me. You know what I mean? And because
who demonized cats? I'm sorry, I missed it.
One of the popes back then.
Popes, yeah. The Egyptians worship cats.
Right.
Yeah, when I went to Egypt, there was so many cats. They're kind of skinny. Their nose is shaped just a little different.
I fucking hate cats.
Speaking of cats, I have to go. Kitty,
right on, Norm.
Good night, Kitty.
Good to see you, Norm.
Love you guys.
Night,
Good to
Norm.
see you.
Yeah, love you, Norm. Take care, brother.
Yeah, but no, I do have to go. As soon as I find my
Have a good day at work. We'll see you on the next one, Norm.
Well, and Norm, we're about to shut her down, I think. And Belushi, I really appreciate that you did Second Wind. We covered New York and circumcision.
Yeah, man. No, yeah, it's good.
But it's
no worries, brother. No, it was. I don't know. I just felt compelled to jump in tonight. You know how I am. Randomly, you catch me guys here every 6 weeks or so.
I wish I could explain what it is about Long Island and parts of Queens, but it's like,
bro,
you see so many American flags.
We could do a show on that.
Oh, we should.
Because New York and California alike are completely conservative. It's the people who run
It's the cities, man. It's Minnesota too, doll. It's every fucking major city, dude.
I was going to ask you guys that earlier. Is New York really a blue state, or is it just because of the
No, it's New York City. There's 8 million people that live there.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute.
I was living in LA for 10 years, commuting in New York City, doing business back and forth twice a month, and going to Chicago.
It's the same as California.
Yeah, dude.
Over 80% of Texas is conservative.
Yeah, but you got fucking
except
Austin
for Dallas, Austin, San
Austin,
Antonio, El Paso,
San Antonio.
Houston.
Yeah.
Yep.
And you can see that. I might even still have a copy. There was a map.
They're really going after Texas and Florida right now. By the way, separate conversation.
There was a map that came out after the 2016 election that had blue and red color codes for each county for the entire country, and as plain as day,
dude. It's like
every state,
it's blue dots pimpled throughout a red country, bro.
Yeah, exactly.
It's wild. It's not wild though, because we know it. But it's like even if you showed a map like that to your average tard, they're gonna be like, it's not gonna. No, okay. Dude, I will employ everybody to do this. Do a lap around youth culture on TikTok and YouTube Shorts, and then talk to me tomorrow. And you will be like, dude, we are so fucked.
So I asked the same Uber guy. I was like, yeah, like, isn't it strange the elections kind of look a little rigged, no? He's like, well, I don't know. People, like Biden, I guess, whatever. He couldn't believe he was saying it himself. But then I was like, yeah, they really. And I said, wait. And I said, wait, but so you're telling me that they really okay and like Biden, but more than they love Obama? And then he couldn't reply anything anymore after that. I got him.
Yeah. Let me tell you guys a theory I've been working on, because I've been really deep into who's popular right now in youth music, and it's primarily this weird new form of demonic hip hop that's not even music, but it's like whites and blacks all acting the same way, and they're like little pedo clown, like it's like the pedo puppet masters are playing dress up, and they all are acting and actually alluding to and mocking signing their souls over to the devil, acting in a certain way with rainbow colored hair braided and face tattoos and weird eye fucking gouge piercings. And like, dude, the devil is on full display.
Right.
No, like I lived in LA and I worked in and out of the music industry and the agency, and like the devil is on full display.
Yeah, they're not hiding it like they used to.
No, it's not even about hiding. It's they're actively recruiting these kids, like this whole new generation that's popular right now, and they're all making all shit tons of money. They are nobodies. They were all like, half of them were like weird, like little nerdy teenage streamers and shit.
Right.
It's
really strange.
Who is
really
doing the
fucking
recruiting though? Is it the teachers or more than that?
No, bro. It's the Hollywood machine.
Okay.
The music machine is doing the recruiting.
You know, the thing about that too
which is the Jewish mafia, if you want to be honest.
The thing about that too also is take the satanic church, it's on the move, and right now, but they're saying that they don't worship Satan, so the great lie, the great deceiver, I mean, he's real, but no, they're not hiding it anymore, but they've got a lot of people convinced that Satan is not real. And,
no, it's not even that. It's that
it
God
is.
isn't real, and you might as well
that the satanic
serve.
church is pushing their agenda everywhere. That's why they're going to these town squares and everything, and putting up the what's his name? Gosh damn it,
Anton LaVey or the other one?
No, God dang it, man! Like I said, my head scrambled.
Spaghetti Monster?
No, child sacrifice dude. What's his name? The demon.
Moloch.
Oh, Moloch.
Thank you. They're putting up the statues of Moloch and stuff at the town squares and stuff everywhere. They have the Ten Commandments.
Give it a year or two. Could we see a true, actually practicing, believing pagan starting to supplant the atheist?
Dude, out here, all right, I live in Phoenix. Next to Phoenix is Scottsdale. They have a Luciferian satanic church out there now. I forget what it's called, but they're openly worshiping Satan.
But then they tell you they're not. That because Satan doesn't exist. That's the crazy part that people are buying.
After school program that's satanic. I forget what that's called too.
Yeah, there's been some in Texas too.
This shit. I've been wanting to go to that satanic church and just crash the party.
Here's
I would do it.
arrested.
I'll be honest with you guys. The thing that's really been hurting me and put me into forms of shells, meaning like, yeah, I'm still out here. I'm doing my pod and all that. But like, there's times, man, and there has been times in the last 9 months, 12 months that I don't want to do any of it. You know, I don't want to do any of it. And that's that demonic energy dragging you to a point where you feel like there's no way out and there's nothing you can do.
Defeat.
Yeah, well,
and that's where they want us.
Yes,
exactly.
And that's where most people are. And even somebody as strong as me in this thing, I fucking struggle hard with it.
Yep.
So, dude, put yourself in the shoes of somebody who has no fucking clue what's going on.
Right.
Well, you know, y'all were on to something earlier, Belushi. You were too about taking a break. You know, you got to take a break from it every now and then.
You got
you have to. You got to step back and refresh, man. If you don't, it will eat you alive.
It will
and
absolutely
it will defeat
eat you
you.
alive. Yeah.
Just recently, I took a week off. I wasn't online. I wasn't on Facebook. I was completely unplugged.
Nice.
I was in here watching bootleg movies and shit. You know what I mean?
Nice.
Fuck yeah, dude. Watch Breakfast Club, bro.
Dude,
That was filmed in my high school.
You know what?
Dick, excuse me, Rich. Will milk be made available?
Have you guys watched the show? It's on Amazon.
I'm fucking Texan killing it.
It's called The Boys.
Puts him in the closet. I'm sorry. It's just Breakfast Club. I'm sorry.
It's awesome.
Dude, all right, so the show is called The Boys. And it's got comic characters loosely based off of like Superman, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, right? This is some of the darkest shit I've ever seen in my life, what they do in this show, people. I mean, it's like a cross between Spartacus and Avengers, if that makes any sense.
Mm.
This shit is dark. Oh my God, it's dark. But I unplugged, you know what I mean? It's got 3 seasons.
Never heard of it.
A boneless chicken. Travis Scott isn't even music. It's aerial programming. 100 fucking %. And he just had another concert, I think in Germany or Canada or somewhere, where he had a very similar rush to the stage kind of thing. They are creating these environments. This is very purposeful and by design.
Right.
What's going on in the music industry is fucking insanity, and it has such a firm grip. It always has, but more so than ever on the youth. And like being somebody who's toured and done big shows and been on big stages and been around big acts and been behind the scenes on big stages, this shit that's going on, these kids throwing shit at the performers and like it's fucking demonic, dude.
Dude,
Like,
I watched the interview, that one concert where a lot of people had died.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Travis Scott.
Dude, they were interviewing this one chick, and she was like, I don't know what it was, but as soon as the music came on, it just felt demonic.
Man, God started sucking the souls out of people. I have a video I'll show you where he sucks a soul live. When that kid dies, you can see his fucking soul leave his body on film.
Yep.
It's wild, dude.
I don't remember if I saw that or not.
Yeah, it's out there. I can look for it. I'm not going to look for it right now because I'm actually going to fire up some after hours music if anyone wants to come over. So
Yeah, everyone go to Belushi. You're going to open up the channel?
Yeah, I'm going to open up for a little bit because I'm not tired. So
that gives me my out.
She was just going on and on about how demonic it was, and all she wanted to do was leave. And I think she left before all those people got trampled.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna go ahead and step out of Belushi's fixing to fire up his channel and do his thing, and I know G Ross ready to shut it down. G Ross, I'll tell you what, man. I've said it before. I'm gonna say it again. I had a great night that Friday night, dude. That's one for the books, there, brother.
That was so good.
Yeah, I appreciate
Damn,
you.
I'm jelly. I would have wanted to hang out with you.
Yeah, it was fun hanging out with you guys. Sorry, I'm not all together tonight, but anyway, I'll be back around eventually. Maybe tomorrow night. I don't know. It'll be sometime soon, and I'll be back on the show. Anyway, thanks for having me on, guys, and God bless y'all. God bless America.
Much love, Texan, man. Thanks for the call. Thanks for the call earlier, Tex.
See you down the road.
See you down the road.
All right.
But yeah, Belushi, about the music, it's not even just the music. They're hitting up these podcasters on YouTube now.
No, bro. They're all one of the guys who just left what's his name? The stupid blonde brothers. Fuck. God, they're so insignificant.
Okay, while you're remembering, I want to bring up something to counteract the music.
Are you talking about those twins?
No, they're not twins, but one of them, they both box. They're fucking YouTube influencers.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
What's his
name? So one of the guys who's Muslim just left their crew, and he was like, "Yeah, they let me go." And he did a pod, and he was like, "Yeah, the Pauls, Logan Paul and Jake Paul."
Right.
He goes, "I walked in, and he goes, dude, he had all his books in a pentagram on the table." And he was like, blood was dripping from the ceiling, basically meant like from his hand. And he was like, he had cut his hand open and he was dripping it into a glass. And he tried to hand me the glass and he was like, join me. And he was like, bro, this guy's like the only God guy on that whole crew. And he was like, fuck no. Like these motherfuckers literally are doing ritualistic blood sacrifices and selling their souls in real time in Hollywood right now. And they're gobbling up these kids. I'm telling you, this whole fucking generation of these kids who are wearing $1 million on their fucking bodies and jewelry is fucking absurd. And I can get into the whole thing where the blacks are actually coming up through all the fucking Khazarian Jews that control the system and they're giving the money back to the Diamond District. But that's a whole different conversation. But what I'm saying is, this shit is happening right now, and I'm watching it on the internet, and it's fucking wild. The devil.
I know we're still fighting it. It's not that bad. It's not that bad.
Okay. I want to hear your perspective. I'm sorry,
Okay,
Froggy.
my perspective is this. We are all seeing it, yes. I think it's done for the completely lost people to really get them up to speed. And on top of that, there is another, like you said, there is a group of actors who are fighting this war. There is a group of musicians that are doing the same shit too.
Yes, 100%.
If you have not seen the latest Force PSYOP group video, it was a video that they dropped that had Kendrick Lamar's song in it, which is completely awakened. Like, it's so good. It is, first of all, super
Ooh,
catchy.
I'm gonna have to check that out.
The lyrics are insane. It's like every line is like a red pill. It's like a red enema.
Dude, that makes me feel so good that it's going mainstream. That's great.
And Kendrick Lamar has a huge crowd. And
Yes,
I bet
huge
you he's
following.
not the only one. So that's just happened to coincide with the Force PSYOP group that I follow. So it definitely kind of like was like a nice wink and a nod, and I loved it. And I think this war is so spiritual and whatever, and emotional and whatever, but we are so winning. And I think we are given all these like negative narratives, but there is so much positive going on that we're just not really seeing it, but it's there. And a lot more people are catching on.
I agree with you, Anka Vanka, and thank you for bringing that light, because I don't want anyone to think I was coming off sort of, and I hate even this term black pill. I'm coming off real, like a reality of things. I'm not coming off like there's no hope. I hope I didn't come off that way, because I firmly agree with you that I said this at the beginning of the pod, and I don't know if you were here at that point, Froggy, but I was like, dude, we are shifting in a direction that they can't control, and God is here, man. He's fucking here, and this shit is real, and it's happening right now in real time. And that's like just dude, I'll give you a very simple example on a macro scale. Fucking Mitch McConnell at the podium today.
What happened?
He
froze.
He had a fucking mini stroke.
Yep.
Really?
Yeah. Like literally had a stroke at the podium.
Wow.
And then they wheeled his ass back out. It's so fucked up how fucking demonic these people are. Take him to the fucking hospital. Not that I fucking care about this man, but it's like I care about humanity.
Yeah, minutes matter.
If he's a human, I think he's a turtle, but I don't know.
No,
Seconds matter. Yeah, you're right.
Like I just feel bad. I mean, when I look at old people, I just feel bad. But in any event,
he's 81. It's stupid because we're going to start talking about Congress. But I'm saying I'm agreeing with you, Anka.
Yeah, no, I'm trying to have a balance here. You know, you give me 1 point, I want to give you something else, and maybe other people not even thought about it. But I do think we have all these wins, especially in Supreme Court, and for that reason, I think we should be glad that it was Mitch who pulled those. He wasn't in Senate thing when Trump was appointing all those judges, all over 300 judges, and Mitch was confirming them, he was putting his stamp in. He could if he was a really, really shitty person, he could have fucked with that, you know? And we got them. It went through. And we had all those wins, the abortion, the all the other ones, what are the other ones called? But you know what I'm talking about.
What if that was actually an MK Ultra glitch?
Well, this kind of goes to the question that I want to ask you guys. I would like to hear your opinion on it. Have you guys seen the Jamie Foxx photos?
Yeah, he looks a little whitish.
In one photo, his head is kind of squarish, and then this new photo, his head is long. People.
He almost died.
No, I know about that, but I'm saying this does not look like Jamie Foxx. I mean, it kind of looks like him, but you can clearly see the differences when you compare the pictures side by side. You guys have a
head version. He looks like a cone head.
You know, I hear, people talk about cloning and stuff like that. But when you see these two pictures side by side, you can't help but wonder. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't sign up for the cloning thing. I mean, it might happen. I don't know. It's hard for me to jump on that train.
G. Ross, can you look up Jamie Foxx before and after? I know you want to close, but you guys got to see this picture.
My boss is in town. I'm waking up in 5 hours.
I've seen that picture. I thought a lot of people.
Yeah, I've seen the picture too.
Okay.
And you're right. It doesn't look like normal Jamie Foxx, and people say, "Well, he just went through a big medical ordeal. Of course, he's not going to look the same." I don't know. Could be a freaking mask. It could be a clone. I don't know.
I don't know either, but I know it doesn't look like him. His head is shaped different.
Listen, let me tell you something. I know 100% for a fact that high-level celebrities, personalities, high-ranking officers of office that are in the forefront of the public's eye all have intense security details and all have doubles.
Yeah.
Okay?
Heard that.
They all have doubles, regardless of clones or this, that, and the other. By the way, cloning technology has been around since the fucking 50s. But if you not even get away from that, the prosthetics, the technology in Hollywood, the makeup artists, the masks, all that stuff, there is no fucking question, and I know this for a fact, that they have fucking doubles, just like you have stunt doubles in Hollywood. It's all a fucking show. These are all actors. Okay, that there's a reason why Hollywood and DC are tied at the hip.
Right.
The good news is that Red Pill 78 looks darker than Jamie Foxx now.
I know. I need a tan. I was gonna go out today. It was like 95. I was gonna get a fucking heat stroke.
Yeah, Red Pill's aiming for reparations soon.
I used to be. See, I'm normally that dark. I fucking hate living up here, dude. It's like I live in Canada, basically. God, I miss the beach. I live in such a fucking demonic shit show. I wish I was there. All right, I'm gonna get out of here and start my show. I love you guys.
All right,
great conversation tonight.
Good talk.
Yeah, Froggy, I'm so glad you jumped in.
Thanks, Belushi.
All right, brothers. All right, sister. Later. Come over, guys. Come on, fucking check us some late night. Later.
All right, I'm gonna jump out too.
Right on.
Thanks, guys. Tune in tomorrow night if you want to see Off the Rails, and I guess Friday I'll be up showing maybe a repeat for some of you people, but all the symbolism that I ran across on the way of this huge journey. So,
okay.
Anyway, see you guys then.
So you
Good night.
doing a Thursday and a Friday?
What?
You doing a Thursday and a Friday?
Well, Thursday's the Off the Rails panel, but then it sounds like Friday I'm going to be doing a solo shot with Belushi like we did 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
All right, guys. Thanks. Hope to see you there.
Later,
Night.
Dexter. Well, I guess
So, Anka, you got any final thoughts?
Oh, I don't think so. I think I covered everything. But
did.
The only thing I'm just trying to stay way more optimistic and positive. I'm trying because I think this war takes a big toll emotionally and whatnot. And with everybody, like, falling apart and just whatever, you kind of gotta stay in the fight to see the end of this. You can't fall apart. So that's why I'm trying to find things to be a little bit more optimistic and positive about. That's pretty much my plan. And I wish everybody the same.
Well said, Frog.
Thank you.
My final thoughts. Yeah, can the world be a dark place? Yeah. I mean, learning about the evil in this world is how I got closer to God. But I will suggest this to people. Keep comedy in your life. You got to be able to laugh. And the more you laugh, the more it'll help with how you feel, especially if you go down some of those dark rabbit holes. Other than that, I'm glad to see that we were able to squeeze 3 hours out of this small chapter.
Thanks to the panel.
Yeah. It's always nice when they stop by.
Well, and that touches on.
Go ahead.
Well, yeah, I didn't want to step on that. Sorry.
Oh, no, I was pretty much done. I just wanted I want people to make sure that they add comedy to their life, whether it be stand-up, a funny movie. All right.
I think you kind of gave a segue because I wanted to give just this one thought to the three of us before I head out. Bye, Froggy. The two of us before I head out. Sometimes I stretch things a little, but tonight might have just been a little taste of Jacob's Ladder.
Well, elaborate on that one.
Well, we climbed up and down all the topics. We went in and out from heaven to earth. We worked this. We did the work. I don't know what it means to go up to heaven, back to earth, up to heaven, back to earth, but that's part of the human experience, and hopefully we did that tonight.
We did talk about a lot of different things.
Yep.
And that's what makes this show so enjoyable. Like, we stretch what we can out of the material that we read, and then we freestyle. What's not nice about that?
I love it.
And like we mentioned earlier, I consider this a form of gathering. I'd rather
agree.
do this than participate with church.
I agree. We have gathered. Black Yoda, I will, first of all, thank you for being the ever-present, awesome co-host. And
Oh,
let me go get some sleep.
So with that said, people, next time, or I'll see you guys again next week.
Right on.
I hope you guys stay blessed. And Black Yoda out.
Bye-bye. As we all roll over to Belushi, let me get the outro going. This won't be as good as what you hear over at Belushi, but let me get the outro music going. Oh, let me release the scratches. Oh, I didn't hit the button. So many buttons that have to be hit. Here comes the scratches. Thanks to the Texan, Hangton Alien Surfer, Duppy, Black Yoda, Belushi, Ankavanka. What a panel. For a little old channel like G. Ross to be graced and blessed with a panel like that, out of control. I'm going to bomb Java for a second and then go hang out in Belushi. I got to break down the mic, so those are the chats I'll be in. And we'll see you back here Friday, 5:30 p.m. Texas time with Angular, and then Sunday, 9 p.m. Texas time with Sloan TV and Rev. With that, let me see one scratch. Let me see one scratch. Can I see one scratch? I'm gonna do it to show it can be done. There we go. It can be done. Sometimes the people don't know that it's scratching time. Scratch, my pretties. Scratch. You must. There we go. All right. Now I'll push the outro button. Love you all. Thank you for spending time with us. We're joined on Fridays by co-host Angular. This has been G. Ross, and you are the underscore. Be sure to catch us on the foxhole.app, DLive, YouTube, or Facebook. Current shows include The Bread Pill Weekly. You've been red pilled, now be the red pill. You're out of the oven and ready for delivery on our weekly alternative news roundup and call-in show on Foxhole, DLive, YouTube, and Facebook every Friday at 5:30 p.m. Central, co-hosted by G. Ross and Angular. Current shows include Epistemology for Fun and Profit, where woo meets goo. You're in the woo, and the woo is in you. A philosophical call-in show with occasional guest interviews, diving into the oldest questions. Most episodes are exclusively on the foxhole.app, Sunday at 11:30 p.m. Central. Current shows include 9dNation, the nation with no denomination. Declare to the custom agents any edible plants or miscellaneous worldviews. We take a look back at how we got here, eventually leading into a regular Wednesday night Bible study at 11 p.m. Central. Catch us on the foxhole.app, DLive, YouTube, and Facebook. Our Friday co-host is Angular. This has been G. Ross, and you are the underscore.